The Toronto Raptors lose one of, if not the most frustrating game of the season. They drop to 3-8 in their last 11. I don't know what's more frustrating about this game. That probably you should have known going in that the Raptors stood no chance against the defending champions, a healthy Denver Nuggets team that is just simply way more talented, deeper, stronger, smarter than you. Or that the Raptors would somehow find a way to get into the game with their athleticism, length, force behind Scottie Barnes, and somehow have a coach who stubbornly, for what feels like the 15th time this season, goes back to a lineup that is proving over and over to not work and costs you the game. You know, it's one thing to watch teams like the Detroit Pistons or the Washington Wizards lose games and just see them and just say it's not their time. They're not ready. They don't have talent. They don't have shooting. They don't have this. They don't have that. But if you are sitting at home saying the Raptors are among that class of team, if you're sitting there saying the Raptors don't have a chance to be in these games, you are wrong. They do have a chance. This team should be 500. The fact that they are not 500 is criminal. I wish I could tell you it's because they've been injured. They've had bad luck. It hasn't been bad luck, and it hasn't been injuries. The Raptors have been relatively healthy. It has been self-inflicted wounds, and it has been a starting lineup that is so bad and so ineffective that even the mouthpiece broadcasters are bringing it up over and over again. Over and over, they're saying, I wonder if he's going to keep going back to the starting lineup. I wonder if there's going to be a change in the starting lineup. I wonder if we'll see a new starting lineup in the second half. I wonder if next game they're going to go back to the same starting lineup. Oh, don't hold your breath. They will. Because apparently Dennis Schroder has like nudes on somebody, and Pascal Siakam must finish games. I saw a team rally behind Malachi Flynn and Precious Achua, Chris Boucher, OG Anunoby, Scottie Barnes. I saw a team rally behind Gary Trent Jr. I saw a team close the gap against a team that was better than them by playing harder than them. I saw a team outwork, outmuscle, get to the spot, beat their guy to a rebound, get loose balls, get 50-50 balls, grit, just play with toughness, take it on the chin. Malachi Flynn damn near suffered a concussion, and he's trying to change his shoes and get back into the play. This bench is bringing it, man. I mean, to those of you who listened to me last year say that the bench was being scapegoated, this is why I felt the bench was being scapegoated, because they weren't being given an opportunity. And this year, they've been given an opportunity under Darko Rajakovic. Kudos. But this is not a real opportunity because you keep cutting their wings. You keep clipping them. They get you back into the game. Over and over, they get you back into the game. And over again, you spit in their face and you say, okay, time to let the big boys come in and absolutely look at this. Just look at it. You think I'm lying? Here, take a look. Okay. You see this little trend line here? Okay. There are your starters. Boom. You're in a hole. There's your bench. Boom. You close the goal. You close the hole a little bit. Boom. There's your start. There's your starting unit back in right around there. And there goes the gap. Keep playing the starters. There's your starting unit to start the second half right there. You see a widening, right? And there's your bench that finally closed the gap by playing what? Defense. And there's your starters coming right back into the game to destroy the entire momentum. It's annoying because it's so obvious. It happened like right away. Dennis Schroder comes back. Literally the next play, it was a defensive assignment on him. Wide open Kentavious Caldwell-Pope in the corner. Who was the closest man to him? It was Dennis Schroder. Go back and check the tape. Then it's coming down Jamal Murray, and he did the same bullshit that he did against Trae Young. He goes under the screen, then he goes back, and he completely forgets that Jamal Murray is a freaking all-star, bro. And you give him an open midi? With the game in the balance, you just forget to guard Jamal Murray, and then What was it? The next one, it was Pascal Siakam in the corner, right? And then it was a Dennis turnover, just throwing the ball at Scottie's feet. And then I think it was a Scottie Barnes missed layup in transition, and there goes the game. There goes the momentum. There goes the defense. The Nuggets were struggling to score, man. They were struggling to score. I mean, all that length and all that potential and all that speed that you keep boasting yourself about. And once again, your near $80 million center is stapled to the bench because apparently he can't guard Nikola Jokic. Then who is he for? Who the hell was he brought in to guard? If he cannot close a game against Nikola Jokic, then I want to know. I'm not debating it. I'm not debating that he should have been on the court. What I want to know is, who did you bring him here for? Who is he here to guard? If he's not here to guard Joel Embiid, he can't guard Joel Embiid. And he's not here to guard Nikola Jokic. He can't guard Nikola Jokic. And he apparently can't guard Victor Wembanyama. Who can he guard? Is he going to guard Chet Holmgren? Oh, I bet he's going to have a great time. Great time there, right? Who is he here to guard? The Kelly Olynyk's of the world? The Mason Plumlees? Let me guess, Ivica Zubac. He's here to guard Ivica Zubac. You got your Zubac starter. You got your Zubac stopper. Teams in the early 2000s were investing in Kobe stoppers. Teams in the 2010s were investing in LeBron stoppers. You, the Toronto Raptors, have decided to mortgage your entire future last year at the trade deadline and parked $80 million into the Ivica Zubac stopper. Congratulations. The Mason Plumlee stopper. Yo, what the hell is going on with this team? It's so frustrating. It's so frustrating because they were in this game. Now, I don't think that they were going to win this game. Trust me, I'm not stupid. I know that they were not going to win this game, but it's how you lost the game that is so vexing because you did it in a way that wasn't new. Do you think it's new that Dennis Schroder is going to have some turnovers and be really ball dominant and run around with a chicken leg with his head cut off? It's not new. He's been doing it all season. You think it's new that Pascal Siakam forgot to box out his man like 8 times? Yo, in the first quarter, you want to talk about your slow starts? Pascal Siakam is refusing to play defense. He is refusing to play defense. You want tape? You want me to do a low light video for real? I mean, I've been trying to keep my mouth clear of Pascal Siakam's name, but man, are you kidding me right now? And this dude is not playing defense. He's not playing defense at all. He's not even trying. He's not boxing out. He's not rotating. Yo, he's leaving wide open shooters every single corner. He is not contesting at the rim. He had a contest out. I think it was to Jamal Murray. He just ran past him. He got lost in the play. And then he just turned around and looked at him while he was driving to the basket. What? Like, you don't need a magnifying glass. You don't need Columbo. You don't need an investigator to tell you that this shit is flagrant. And I can't believe I'm so far into this live. I'm 8 minutes into this live and I haven't even talked about Scottie Barnes having 30 points, 10 rebounds, and 5 assists. Yo, what a magnificent game for this dude, right? Big stage. We're talking about all-star voting. We're going to talk about all-star voting at some point. Some of y'all are doing it wrong. I'm going to tell you right now, you're doing it wrong. And I talked to a few people about it today, and you're doing it wrong. You're voting with your head. You're not voting with your head. You're voting with your heart, and you're not thinking about the straight. But I'm going to give you like the lowdown on how to vote properly. I've done it now 6 times. I voted 6 times. Yeah, you're asking like, hey, Rob, it's been open for 2 days. How'd you vote 6 times? 3 content IDs, motherfucker. That's how we vote 6 times. Okay. And on those 3 times days, we're going to vote 9 times. And if, I can get some family members, some grandparents, some dead relatives to start voting and get them to vote too. Yo, that is the only thing saving grace in this season is if Scottie can become an all-star starter, maybe it'll make me feel 1% better about this season because this season is trash. Straight up. It's been bad. Anyways, this is a call-in show. Please do call in if you got something to say. Absolutely, do call in. We got a few callers waiting already. Let's talk about the game, I guess. Let's talk about the game. First, speaking of, this is something that I wanted to point out. Okay. These are the most frequently used lineups This lineup data got worse today, I assure you. That starting lineup bled minutes. Absolutely. These are the most used lineups in the league, the most used 5-man units in the league. You're going to notice there's a lot of starting units here. Okay. There's also some bad teams. There's a Washington Wizards lineup in there. You want to know the one thing that the Raptors unit has nothing in common with any of these other units, because the Raptors unit is not a bench unit. It's not this guy was injured, so we had to play Goga Batiste a lot of minutes. No. No, this is your starting unit. This is the unit that you close with. This is the unit that you open with. This is the unit that you swear to hell and high water that they are going to be the absolute difference makers every night. You're going to win with them. You're going to lose with them. Yo, it's the only unit in the league with over 200 minutes that's posting a negative net rating. You know why? Because other teams, despite their intent to tank, do not roll out negative units for 200 plus minutes. You doing it for 319 minutes. Yo, thank God for the Houston Rockets and Ime Udoka, because this would be the most used lineup in the league if not for that team. You see the Bucks? You see the Celtics? That's a plus 19.6, because you know what? Most teams, right? They tend to get a little bit worse when they go to the bench. Not you, because your starting lineup is so flawed, so fundamentally flawed. Look at OG and Scottie and Pascal's net rating without Jakob Poeltl, and tell me what you see. Oh, you mean it's surprising that the center who stands in the middle of the paint and clogs the paint that you need for the straight line drivers to score, you think he's having a negative effect on the spacing of your team? Oh man, you mean the guy who's never made a single three in his entire career, he's having a negative impact? Oh yeah, okay. And Dennis Schroder ain't helping either. When you take Dennis Schroder and Jakob Poeltl out of that lineup and you just add Gary Trent, so Gary, OG, Scottie, and Pascal, you become positive. Become a positive team. This is a team that is losing. I want to be careful when I say this, on purpose, because I have it on good authority that the Raptors have weekly analytics meetings. Do you really have weekly analytics meetings if you can't even spot this trend, that you cannot trade that, you cannot change that starting lineup because you made a promise to Dennis and Jakob that they were going to be starters? Are you crazy? Are you insane? Dennis Schroder and Jakob Poeltl. Bro, are you kidding me? Check where those players rank in terms of estimated plus minus. They are both outside the top 100 players in the league. Check where they rank in terms of value of replacement. They're not top 60 players. They're not players that you have to go hell or high water for. They're not. They're not bad players. They just don't work together. And they're also adults. Like, you're not starting like a 21-year-old and you're like, okay, we got to roll with this. No, this is a 28-year-old veteran center who doesn't shoot and a 30-year-old veteran point guard who's been a career journeyman. I have never in my life seen a team throw away their season for worse players ever. It's one thing if you were starting Grady and you were losing your starting lineup and you were like, okay, we just got to roll with the punches. We got to roll with the punches. It would be another thing if you were starting Precious Achiuwa or Christian Koloko, where it's like, okay, I get it. They're young. We got to go through this. But you are losing because of your oldest players. This would be like the Hawks starting Patty Mills, bro, and being like, yo, we can't bench Patty Mills. He's too important. This needs to change. This needs to change, man. I am so sick of this dude. I am so sick of these dudes walking around preaching patience, preaching winning. Fuck you, man. Fuck you people. And you got players fucking playing their hearts out, man. It's hard. It's hard to play that hard when you have to come in and always have to dig this stupid ass unit out. And you have these fucking, dudes who swear they're so smart, right? They're outsmarting everybody, right? You trading multiple picks for Jakob Poeltl in 2022. You're super smart, right? I like individual thinkers. I do. I like people who like to go out on a limb. But bro, I do not like people who keep doubling down on a bad bet. And this is a bad bet. And you doubled, tripled, quadrupled. It's depressing. All right. Let's just sorry. I had to vent, man. I'm sorry. Like I just had to get it out there. Maybe it's childish. Maybe I'm not having the greatest day, but like this was sad to watch, man. Sorry. Like, yeah, you'd be like, Rob, were you upset that the Raptors lost the Nuggets? No, I'm not upset the Raptors lost the Nuggets. I'm upset how they lost the Nuggets. I don't give a shit that they lost the Nuggets. I expect them to lose the Nuggets. I expect them to lose to almost any decent team. But I do not expect a team to come out this listless on defense. It's arrogant. It's completely arrogant. Anyways, okay, the Nuggets get a completely balanced attack. Peyton Watson, if you follow my draft guide 2 years ago, you know that he's pretty much one of my favorite players. Loved him. Did not really see Christian Brown becoming such a positive contributor. I've been wrong about him, but it's really nice to see Peyton Watson being, the way he's been. I had an issue with how Pascal took him down, but I'm assuming it was inadvertent. He took a really tough fall, but kudos to him. Zeke Naji, the one guy who gets 0 points, but I think he guarded hard. He made his presence felt out there. Overall, I think the Nuggets didn't get a hell of a lot from the bench. Their entire bench was negative, with the exception of Julian Schroder, the rookie out of Gonzaga, who played 14 minutes and provided some shooting, including a wide open three, which the Raptors just surrendered for no reason whatsoever. Jamal Murray, big game, first win for him back in Toronto since 2018. I have been voting Jamal Murray to the All-Star game. We'll talk about the All-Star game right before we get to the callers for sure. Michael Porter Jr., was he worth a max contract? You tell me. No, I don't think he was. But, he's a young player allegedly. And, his brother is doing a fantastic job for the 905. I will tell you that right now. I mean, he had a damn near triple-double for the 905 the other day. I would love to see Jonte Porter up for the Toronto Raptors. Just give him like 10 minutes and just see what a spacing big can do for your starting lineup. It won't be great defensively. He's not a great defender, but offensively, it could work. He could get hot, I think Aaron Gordon did a good job defensively. I think Nikola Jokic was Nikola Jokic. I mean, this is a soft game by Nikola Jokic standards. 31 points, 15 rebounds, 6 assists. I mean, you limited him as a playmaker, generally speaking. Like, that's generally a good thing. He's going to get his. Like, he's just that good. For the Raptors side, I mean, they lose another first quarter, right? I mean, they've lost every single first quarter this entire month. I mean, we are dangerously close to going an entire month and they don't win a single first quarter. Take the hint, man. It's your starting unit. It's your starting unit. It's your rotations. I cannot imagine a team losing the first quarter to Charlotte twice. Like, it's over and over. It's so repetitive. I had a parlay bet, a 12-1 parlay bet on the Raptors to lose tonight because I did expect them to lose. Everything hit on the parlay bet except for OG Anunoby plus 13 points. I think if you put OG as part of your parlay bet, you deserve to lose. That's pretty much it. I think that's pretty much it. Oh, and OG 1+ steal. Honestly, I think those two legs added like nothing to the. It's so stupid. I don't know why. I just thought, hey man, OG's been having a bad stretch. He's gonna come out, have a big game. 1 steal and 13 points should be manageable. Nope, couldn't do that. OG Anunoby finishes with a triple single, 1 rebound in 40 minutes, 9 points, 3 assists, 0 steals, 0 blocks. I don't like box score watching, but defense wasn't great. Offense was absolutely awful. It's a little misleading. He also got 9 shot attempts. He was just doing a lot of cardio, man. Like, honestly, 40 minutes. I mean, this is the second straight game that Darko has gone nearly 40 minutes with one of his starters. Clearly, he's looking for some way to patch this up to be able to say, hey, look, the starting lineup won a game. They're not winning. They're not going to win a game, man. They're not going to beat good teams like this. It's crazy. Raptors get 30 points, 10 rebounds, 5 assists, and a block, big block from Scottie Barnes. The entire starting lineup is negative, plus minus. The entire bench, with the exception of Gary Trent, who unfortunately played a lot of minutes with that starting unit in the first quarter during a really bad stretch, they were also positive. I mean, the Raptors kind of held serve for a little bit. Scottie goes to the bench. Boom. There goes the lead. Scottie Barnes had 28 points, I believe 28 or 26 points midway through the third, and then they just went away from him. I really don't have much of an issue. Obviously, Denver was guarding him a lot stronger, and I mean, he spent like a lot of that time on the bench as well. So, not the end of the world at all. Nice when saying, "Why is there no player-only meetings?" Allegedly, there have been. Yeah. I wish the Raptors could have a players only meeting and really just air out their differences and really openly question why is the starting lineup the starting lineup. If I was Gary Trent Jr., if I was Malachi Flynn, if I was Precious Achiuwa, yeah, I'd be pissed. I would be pissed. If I was Chris Boucher, I'd be pissed. How can they pick Tyrese over Scottie for MIP when they're looking at Tyrese's 4-year stats versus Scottie's 3-year stats? Most improved player really has nothing to do with what year you're in. I mean, honestly, it doesn't really matter. All things considered, it doesn't matter. It more or less matters just the jump that you've made. Typically, there's a kind of unwritten rule that you don't award second-year players, but typically it's third and fourth-year players who win. I just think like Scottie's had a much bigger jump than Tyrese, and if you want to see how big a jump, here's a little bit of that jump in terms of 3-point shooting. Scottie Barnes' 3-point shooting is in uncharted territories. Well, not completely uncharted. Here's the last 13, 15 years. Sorry, last 20 years in terms of jumps and 3-point shooting. And it's like how many players have gone from below 3-point shoot below 30%. This is from, I believe her name is Karthika on Twitter. So below 30% to above 35%, and Scottie's well above 35%. So really, if you would just filter up to 38%, it's really just 3 guys, right? And doubling the attempts. So yeah, I mean, this is crazy growth, right, for Scottie. Definitely show some more analytics by scrolling through Twitter at some point, but I do want to get to some callers at this point. First up is Zamper. Zamper, what's up?
Yeah, hey. Depressing game, to say the least.
Sure.
I guess so. I'll start off with kind of a like an off-topic thing. I saw there's some comments that were made on the Raptor show with Will Liu, where they're talking about basically, is Darko too much of a nice guy? Not enough tough love.
Sure.
Does the locker room really respect? And they were basically they were getting torn apart for the comments they made on the show. People are saying, how can you say that? All the players seem to be loving Darko. You don't know. It's 3 months in. And, there's probably some valid points there. But, like, when I think about it, like, how can players like Gary Trent Jr. and to some degree Precious and even Chris, who got his minutes cut compared to the last 2 years, like, these guys aren't wearing blindfolds on the bench. Like, they see what's getting trotted out to start the game and end the game, not like no matter what. Like, how do you sit there and watch that and watch your play not be rewarded no matter what and still have like have some high respect for the coach that's running these players out there no matter what? And
that's fair. I do think that, like, I listened to Gary Trent's interview on Darko,
he seems very high on him. Yeah,
right. He seemed to be extremely complimentary of him, and genuinely seems to like the guy a lot. And yeah, I mean, Chris Boucher has talked, at length about how Darko's communication skills are great, and how he likes him as well. So, clearly, I mean, maybe it's just having a coach like Nick Nurse who maybe doesn't communicate very well to going to a guy who's just so energetic and bubbly. And, you know, here's the thing. You can like a person, and I've noticed this a lot with politicians. If you like a politician, or if you like a public speaker, or you like an athlete, you're going to disproportionately, frame what they do in a positive light, right? So, maybe, and also there's also the added element of you almost always compare what comes after with what came before, right?
Yeah.
So if you were, say, for instance, Chris Boucher got his minutes cut and Gary Trent Jr. got his minutes cut by Nick Nurse, right? They were both on the bench firmly towards the end of last year. They both got DNP-CDs. They both floated in and out of the lineup, right? Maybe they're comparing and contrasting that experience with Nick Nurse versus Darko and thinking, okay, well, Darko at least comes up to me and explains to me before the game that this is what's happening and this is why my minutes were cut and this is what I need to do to get back in the rotation, whereas Nick Nurse didn't do that. And so maybe they're looking at that from that perspective. Yeah.
No, I mean, I definitely agree with that, but like, I guess you just have to wonder, like, if this continues, like, throughout the season, like there is undoubtedly going to be some, or I mean, maybe not, but I would think there would have to be like some seeds of resentment if this really, really keeps going on like this, which I imagine it can't. But then that brings, or raises the other question of, when, like, is somebody gonna, like, it's a front office gonna come step in and put a stop to this at some point? Like, what is it? It's kind of mind-boggling, and it makes you think, what like is the motivations for Darko to keep doing this? I was
Yeah, I mean, it feels like they're kind of waiting for a shoe to drop, right? I mean, on the one hand, you can look at this glass half full, glass half empty, right? I don't know how you feel about this. Have you called them before?
One time, yeah.
Okay, cool. So I don't know if you're in the we need to make a trade, camp, right? I firmly am, obviously. But if the Raptors do need to make a trade, then ultimately, getting a win against Denver might, halt some of that momentum, right? Losing a lot, getting four. I've always said, like, get 6 games under 500 or stay at 500. This is the range, right? If you stay at 500, they're going to keep it together, right? There's a lot of data that supports, building from the middle versus building from the bottom. So the Raptors clearly prefer to not tank and blow it up. They've avoided doing it for years. So, getting a win against Denver is almost like 2 wins, because it's like it sells so much hope and it gives validation for, like, oh, it's it's promise and whatever. So I think of it like more from the sense of, like, glass half full. Like, you lose against Denver, but you lose close. It's almost like a good thing, I mean, what could have been accomplished by losing by 45 points tonight? Nothing. You just chalk it up. But to lose in the way that they lost, with Scottie playing well, it kind of gives the Raptors front office like the guy that we could build this whole thing around if we were to tear it down and trade Pascal and trade OG and trade whoever, he could deliver,
Yeah, I mean, I think that obviously makes sense, but if the front office's thoughts is, they're kind of stringing this along and just sort of getting down on one knee and praying that they, squeeze out a couple games so they can be close enough to 500, that they can maybe hold off on making some move. Like, to me, and I don't see, like, in my opinion, Masai's not making any moves until the deadline, without a doubt, because he's going to try and squeeze every piece of leverage he possibly can out of whatever deal he ends up making.
I mean, with the number of, star players who could be potentially available, right? Like, I mean, Donovan Mitchell potentially coming up, right? Like, waiting might not be the smartest thing in the world, because if a team gets hung up on Donovan Mitchell, like, this is the guy we got to trade for. Certainly the same team that needs Pascal Siakam is the same team that needs Donovan Mitchell, right? I mean, like, you could sell yourself on, a team that thinks, like, okay, we're going to go over the edge. And, like a team that has an abundance of draft picks, like, they could sell themselves on Zion, for instance. Like, if things start going south in New Orleans, could they make Zion available? Right. So you start getting into extreme competition for stars, and then you're not dangling the brightest star. You know what I mean? Like that can get that can get kind of tricky.
Yeah, I don't disagree that that'd probably be the best thing to do is wait right up until the deadline so you get maximize your return. But at this point, like I just don't see the strategy of if the marching orders are coming from the front office to try and run the starting lineup out as much as possible and try and squeeze out as many wins. It seems like they're kind of I think it's obvious to everyone except whoever's making that decision that it's not working, and they're just going to end up limping into the trade deadline with a pretty sad looking record. And then the season's going to be a wash if it isn't already. So I don't know.
You could potentially give up your draft pick for absolutely no compensation. That sucks. And then on top of that, you don't make the play-in, or you do make the play-in, but you have absolutely no chance in hell. And then, like, you're not the type of team that can win because you haven't done enough, like you haven't gotten enough research or data. Really, at the end of the day, you haven't really gotten like what you would need to figure it out, and you're not getting development, right? Because Grady's not really playing, and so yeah, it is absolutely limping.
Yeah. I just like it also sucks that like the best case scenario, I guess, is what we maximize return on either OG or Pascal at the deadline and maybe limp into the play-in and have a competitive game there and call it a season. So it's just the overall outlook on the season is just pretty bleak, and the front office is not making it is kind of making it look even more dark and gray as time goes on. But I can recognize it's a tough situation, but also just going to the game tonight and just in general, like I don't know if I'm getting, I'm starting to maybe like 3 weeks ago I was very much on the keep OG, stay young, move Pascal, get some young pieces, and sort of build with that going forward. But I'm really disappointed in OG's play as of the last like 2 weeks, 3 weeks. It just seems like all of these 10-point games, 8-point games, and it's been said by other people that really he's a finisher. He gets spoon-fed a lot of his offense, and it's kind of tough to sell yourself. Well, the more we see, it's tougher to sell yourself.
I think the offense is really tough around him, right? They're not really featuring him, right? And you can argue that it's partially on him as well, right? He looks a little bit disinterested, to be completely honest with you. Like, defensively, this has been not a great OG stretch, right? So, I was shocked. I was looking at, the leaders in terms of defensive wins added and all the analytics defensively. OG's decent, but he's not pulling, $40 million worth of value right now at all. Like, he's barely scratching $22 million, $20 million of value right now. So given that there are teams out there that may want to max him out for 40 million, 42 million next year, 41 million, whatever the Sixers can afford to offer him, as much as I love OG, the question is, are you heading into another Fred VanVleet situation? Completely different optics, right? But is it really? You have a guy who is massively overvalued by somebody else out there. Now, in the case of OG, it's not just one team. It's like 6 teams, 7 teams that could sell themselves on the idea of him, because other GMs are not stupid. They know what he could do in a better system, right? So the question is, why not create the better system here and then use him because he's, kind of a homegrown thing. He's known to you, etc. But it would be very hard for me to understand how you would optimize a player like this to the point where he is worth $40 million. It is very difficult, especially if there's any notion that you're bringing Pascal back as well. Tying up nearly 60% of your cap for these two players is ridiculous.
Yeah,
it's really bad. Like, they are not. They're like, right now, neither player is top 50 in anything.
Yeah, it's just not enough production for the price tag, and it'd be sad to see OG go, because he's kind of like one of the last sort of bastions of defense. Like, it's him, Scottie, and Precious really that still kind of try to uphold those defensive principles that carried us so far. So it would be pretty sad to see him go, and then at the same time you see people saying like, oh, if OG walks, like our defense is going to be terrible. It's like, then the argument is our defense is already terrible. So, is it worth?
Defense has been really bad. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, Zamper, any final thoughts?
No, I just hope to see less of Dennis. And hopefully Yak comes off the bench, and maybe we can string together some wins. Who knows?
Yeah, I think this would be time for a drastic change. Thanks a lot for calling in.
Yep.
Peace. Okay. Moobs. What's up?
What's good, man?
Not too much. What's going on?
Yeah, I mean, terrible game. I think until the Raptors change this rotation, until the Raptors change the starting lineup, nothing's gonna change. I mean, it's gonna stay the same. Just mediocre, at best, mediocre basketball. I think, like I said this last time I was on, take Dennis Schroder out the starting lineup, replace him with Trent, and run Scottie at the 1. Even the commentator Jack Armstrong was saying the same thing today. Like, bro.
Yeah. I mean, how bad does it have to be that those guys are on?
Yeah,
on
like
this?
I swear they never like have an opinion about stuff like that, like what the starting lineup should be or something like that. But like, even it's bad when they're saying something about it.
No, I agree.
Yeah,
it's been bad for sure. Like, I mean, the data proves it. Like, it's absolutely like it's proving it over and over, and it's never changed. Like, that lineup has not been good. I mean, they were good for about 6 games. And that was it. And that was when Dennis was shooting well. And then from that point on, I mean, we're 20 plus games into really bad territory with that lineup. I mean, the fact that lineup is negative, despite how positive it started, should let you know how negative it's been.
And Dennis Schroder, even before he came to Toronto, he was never a starting point guard in the NBA. I think the last time before that was maybe Atlanta. Maybe.
Yeah, I mean, he started in LA for a bit, but
a little bit, but yeah. But he was never a starting caliber point guard. Like, he was always a guy who came off the bench. But for some reason in Toronto, we just started him, and then kind of like gave him the keys to the offense for a little bit. You know what I mean? And that I think just makes no sense to me at all. Like, I get what he did in FIBA this summer. I get that.
I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit about FIBA.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, that has nothing to do with the NBA. It has nothing to do with the NBA, because you see these guys like Patty Mills, for example, ball out in FIBA, but that doesn't mean they come to the NBA and do the same thing. Like, it's two completely different ways to play basketball. You know what I mean?
Agreed.
Yeah. I think at this point, I think they should at least take Jakob Poeltl off the starting lineup and maybe replace him with the Chua, just the way he's been playing the last couple of games. What do you think about that?
I mean, it helps your spacing. It helps your transition. It makes your defense worse.
Yeah, that's true. And I think Boucher should be getting more minutes. I mean, just from the limited minutes he's been getting this season, I think he's looked good.
Yeah. No, I agree. He's been, for the most part, he's been your best bench player. Most consistent bench player. He's consistently bringing it. In terms of here we go. So in terms of dunks and threes, EPM model, so to estimate a plus minus, Scottie's 18th. He should be a little bit higher after today, maybe 16th.
Yeah.
Or 15th. Pascal's 53rd, OG 81. He's going down after today. Dennis 100th. Jakob 133rd. Boucher 198th. Gary 272. Grady is dead last. Dead last in the NBA.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's like it's bad. You're losing on the fringes. Absolutely. Like, all your shooters that are supposed to be able to shoot, like Jalen McDaniels and those guys, they're not shooting well, right? And then that's certainly not on Scottie. It's not really on Pascal or whatever. But it makes you wonder if everyone's struggling, all with the same thing. Is like, what is wrong with your system? Because all your guys, it's a compounding problem, because it's like if Nikola Jokic forgot how to pass, right? Or Nikola Jokic was a terrible passer or not a very good creator, and you kept running your offense through him at like 34% usage. Well, wouldn't Michael Porter Jr. struggle a little bit? Wouldn't Zeke Naji struggle? Wouldn't, Peyton Watson struggle? That's the whole point of stars. They're supposed to unlock your role players. That's the whole point of why they're paid so much. It's not just their impact. It's how they impact other players. So you see, like, what Kawhi playing so well for the Clippers is doing for everybody else on that team. That's exactly what a star is supposed to do. I think the Raptors have to ask themselves a question.
Zubac, Coffee, like all these guys are playing better because of Kawhi.
Exactly. I mean, it's not just Kawhi. Obviously, Paul George.
Harden.
James Harden has been top 10 in box plus minus this year, which is
Yeah,
crazy.
he's been amazing. Like,
yeah, he has. Like he has had 2 games. I believe he had a game the other day. We had a 31 box plus minus game
crazy,
in like 30 minutes. Like he was crazy good. And it's funny because the news cycle in the NBA is so hilarious because we talk, we make fun of things, or we clown things. I was very much firmly for the James Harden is not washed camp. Like I think he's a great player, right? Fantastic passer. I think the Sixers with him would have been better than without him. Clearly, Kelly Oubre and Tobias Harris are not replacing James Harden regardless of what people think. But he comes out and he's like, I'm not a system player. I'm a system. And people clown him mercilessly for that. They're like, oh, James is living in the past. James is whatever. Well, James Harden is back to being a top 20 player in the NBA.
I agree.
So there we go.
Top
right?
20, top
and
25 range, yeah.
Easy. Yeah, absolutely. And the Clippers are cooking. So it's like, it's people got to remember what they said about it though, right? Like people, it's like, it's funny, he's a system, and then now he's playing well, and it's like, shut up. Well, no. Take it back. Like walk it back. Like you talk so much shit about it. So now walk it back. Same people, last year. I remember I was so flabbergasted. I mean, right now it feels like everybody knew Jakob Poeltl was a bad move. But I tell you, at the time, really go back and watch the videos. Watch the videos from content creators. Oh, thank God, we finally got a center.
Yeah.
Fuck these people, man. These guys want to pretend that I didn't. I sat there the entire night. I mean, I remember live reacting to it, and I was like, "What? No!" I screamed my lungs out. And then that night, I was so curious to understand what other content creators said about it. And then I went and I listened to them. And they're all like, yo, this guy's a solid player. First round pick's not that important. This core is where I don't remember a lot of people saying that was a bad move. Well, now it's firmly a bad move.
Terrible,
so own it. Own that you said it. You know what I mean? Like that's all I want. Yeah. Anyways, any final thoughts?
Oh man, I think we gotta make some trades. Just build around Scottie, man. All right,
man. Peace.
I see
you. All right. We got the Coach Mo. Coach Mo, what up?
So you still think the Yak contract is neutral, or are you still on that hill? It's neutral.
It's not as negative as you want it to as
it's
you think
neutral,
it is,
buddy. It's not neutral because if it's 15 million, you think fair value is 15, and he's at 19.5 with a player option in 26 and 27. Sure, buddy.
The player option makes it worse. Yeah, for sure.
He's not worth
the player option at 31 makes it worse.
Rob, I'm dead serious. If I'm OKC and we're swapping Jakob and Davis Bertans, I need like 2 seconds. Because
no.
26, 27 player option for 19.5 million. You know when other young players are up for extension? You want Jakob Poeltl sitting on your books?
You know what you're not factoring in? The cap is going up. The cap is going up huge.
Not as much as it's been going up.
Dude,
not as much as it's been going up. The rate will come down.
What are you basing that on?
But
what are you basing that on, man? The next TV deal is going to be
structure everything on the next deal,
bro. The next TV deal is going to be huge. So Jakob Poeltl, like I'm genuinely saying this. Like I think this is going to happen. I think 19 million is going to be like close to the new mid level. I think new mid level is going to be 16 million. So all of these deals being signed in the previous offseason are factoring that in. Now, do I think Jakob is slightly overpaid? Yes, I do. Absolutely. But not by much. And do I think that you'd have to add seconds to get rid of him for Davis Bertans? You'd be an absolute idiot if you're Masai Ujiri and you add picks.
So you think it's a fair trade? Davis Bertans for Jakob Poeltl right now?
No. I think you need to add picks to Davis Bertans.
He's expiring next year.
I don't care.
Okay.
It's a lot of money to pay for a guy who is a cone on defense and a complete one-way player on offense.
Yeah, and
I mean, you understand. I mean,
honestly, who's he guarding? No, I'm asking you. I'm asking you right now because I saw the game. I turned the game on like everyone else, and I saw Scottie Barnes guarding Jakob Poeltl. I said,
You mean
what's
Jokic?
the point of Yak in the game?
You mean Jokic, right?
Jokic, yes. Yeah. So I'm like, what's the point of this guy? I mean, we could hide Davis Bertans. I'm sure OKC tries to hide him whenever. If he
You
ever
cannot
sees
hide
the floor.
Davis Bertans. Look, here's the thing. In terms of the
I'm being
analytical,
facetious. Obviously, I'm trolling here, but I'm trying to make a point. Like, it's bad.
okay, I will make the case for Jakob Poeltl. Number one, I think Dennis is so bad that it makes Jakob worse.
Amen.
Because certainly he was not this bad with Fred VanVleet. He was actually pretty good last year with Fred VanVleet.
Against
In
horrible
fact,
teams.
he was
Against bad
incredible
teams.
with Fred VanVleet. Okay,
The
so
competition was
the entire notion of this trade being bad had nothing to do with Jakob Poeltl being a bad player. Okay, the entire trade being bad was the timing of trying to save a core that was not worth saving, and then allowing Fred VanVleet to basically use Jakob Poeltl to boost his own trade value and market value, and effectively losing Fred VanVleet for nothing because you got him a pick and roll partner.
But
That was the reason it was a loss.
That was the
Now,
main reason. Yeah.
That was pretty much the only reason.
Well,
And worsening your draft pick that year. To me, the first round pick that we gave up this year, if that was the only thing that was going out for Jakob Poeltl, great trade. I don't care. But everything around it, like for instance, would I trade? Like let's fast forward. Okay, let's say Jakob had re-signed in San Antonio for 15 million or 14 million because he wouldn't have had the increased exposure of playing for a play-in team. Okay. Okay. So let's just say that Jakob Poeltl signed for 15. So right now, if the Raptors were, I don't know, 5 games under 500 and I saw the next year's draft, would I trade Jakob Poeltl for a second round pick and a first round pick? Sure, no problem. The difference is the timing of it is completely different. Now, here's the sell on Jakob Poeltl. According to defensive plus minus, Crafted's defensive plus minus model, he is, I think, plus 2.6, which would make him in the 99th percentile in terms of defenders. Now, I think this is highly overrated, personally. I think it's wrong. I think I'm much closer on him being like a top 12 defensive center right now, but still, he's a starter. He's definitely a starter on the right team. The second part of this is I would say he's number 1 in the NBA in true shooting percentage. It's worth noting that it's not nothing, okay? Like he's having a career year in terms of efficiency around the rim. Mm-hmm. It's not nothing. Where he's really struggling is with turnovers because the spacing around him is absolutely horrible. And it makes a big difference, man. It makes a big difference when a fucking guard can come down on you and you're collecting passes from Dennis Schroder, who's passing it at your fucking feet.
Amen.
You know, and whipping the ball at your hands, and you know, you're dropping the pass or you're getting the pass kind of like, you know, you're trying to gather it and then someone is able to come down. Like the amount of space that he had to roll last year was so different than the amount of space he has to roll this year. So I'm just looking at this from his perspective saying, okay, yes, he's a little bit overpaid. It sucks, but let's be honest. The Raptors almost always overpay their free agents because of taxes, etc. So the way I see it, you have a player who is a net neutral asset who's slightly overpaid on a deal that will probably look better in the next CBA. That's where I'm at. I don't think he's going to fall off a cliff. And he's a really smart player. He's a good character guy. And honestly, like if it was not, like if you're not starting, like I would be very curious to see if just swapping Dennis for Gary in the starting lineup would make Jakob a completely different better player. Because he would have so much more spacing.
I don't think it'll make him a completely different player, but he'll be better. I think Dennis and him together is like extra bad. But when you said the spacing issues, Jakob is a part of the spacing issues. Like he has his name on that spacing issues problem. He's there in bold. Sure, he's there too. So I don't want to hear about spacing and Jakob. But what's the point of Dennis also? Because OG was on started off on Murray. I'm like, is this a Twilight Zone? OG starting on Dennis Schroder, Scottie Barnes starting on Nikola Jokic. I'm like, just bench him already, right?
Yeah.
And you talked about it. When Jack Armstrong, my God, I gained a newfound respect for Jack Armstrong today. This guy said, you know what he said? He said, starting spot is earned, not given.
Facts.
Woo. He said, who is going to start in the second half? Matty D, the biggest company man, threw us straight. You know what he said? And we've dealt with no injuries. He just threw that straight. Just to let everybody know we're the healthiest team in the league, and we suck. Like basically saying we can't blame anything for this, but this assortment is the problem. And when Matty D is saying that, wow.
No, it's funny to me because, Pascal, OG, and Scottie were part of one of the best 5-man units last year to close the season with Fred and Jakob, right? So really, the only thing you've swapped out in that equation is Fred and Dennis. Okay. Now here's the crazy part: Scottie is like 10 times better as a player this year, like maybe 10 times a stretching, 5 times, 4 times. Can you imagine this Scottie Barnes last year? Now you're a playoff team, easy. Like this Scottie Barnes, this assertive shooting, 39%, 38% 3-point shooting. I mean, do you remember how teams were guarding him last year? And they're not guarding him like this anymore. He's guarding people like this. He was guarding Jokic like this. He was like, yeah, I dare you to shoot, man. You're shooting 30% on the year. I dare you to shoot. He was guarding Aaron Gordon like this. He's guarding Zeke Naji like this. I love it. And he's stunting them. And I love that too. But can you imagine this Scottie with last year's team? Now, granted, we can argue that maybe it's a non sequitur. It would not have happened if you had kept Fred. Maybe this version of Scottie never even emerges. But I think he was going to become this no matter what you did with Fred. So the point is really, how bad is Dennis? Because Dennis is really he's so bad that he turned a lineup that was so positive without him, where the guy who was the worst player in that lineup last year, which is Scottie, became the best player in that lineup by far, and you still got worse. Holy shit, the gap between Dennis and Fred is huge, right?
Here's a stat that's crazy. Raptors usage rate in the fourth quarter. Scottie Barnes, 20%.
Mm-hmm.
Pascal, 18%. OG, 12%. Gary, Precious, Malachi, all around 20 to 22. Dennis Schroder, 41.7.
You say 41.7?
Yeah, I think that's today's game, which makes no sense.
Well, I mean, he came in and he absolutely dominated every possession once he came in.
And
motherfucker does not read the fucking room.
The internet is scorching. The internet is scorching this guy. Here's a Darko quote. Eric Kareem tweeted, I asked Darko about the starters. He said it's something that's being considered. However, he's concerned about shortening the rotation further and ripple effect. And then Eric Kareem ends off that tweet by saying, now yell in my replies.
Shit.
I'm concerned you're 11 and 16. What are you concerned about? Do you know what my brother said to me that had me laughing so hard? He was like, yo, how many years do we have this guy signed for? And I said, I thought he was talking about Jakob Poeltl. I said, Jakob signed to 26, 27. He's like, no. How many years do we have of Darko? How many years of Darko do we have? I started laughing so hard. I'm sure the Pistons are asking the same question. How many years was it?
Yeah. I asked Darko about the starters, and he said it's something being considered. However, he's concerned about shortening the rotation further and ripple effect. Now, yell at my replies. Let's read the replies. Let's get some cathartic. AK. All right. You know what's funny when I see people yelling about Dennis Schroder, I can almost always trace it back to people who are part of this channel. Funny. What? God. Okay. I'm just gonna scroll through these. Stevie saying, maybe I'll just do what Nick Nurse did because I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. That's funny. Clark saying, need Jordy Fernandez next year.
Bro.
Yeah. I mean, if you keep starting.
How depressing was it when the comeback was being made and you're thinking the logical next step is just replace Siakam with Boucher. That's it.
Honestly, this is right here. This might be the idiotic thing. How do you do that? Like, that was crazy. I mean, not that the Raptors were going to come back, but that challenge was completely crazy. He just came out. He was like, you hurt my Dennis?
my
challenge
God.
it,
Yeah,
challenge it.
Yeah.
You know, and it was just like, bro, you can't challenge a non-call. Yo, this team went from not knowing the rules of the rules of the in-season tournament to not knowing the rules of basketball. Period. Jeez. Well, I mean,
Jack Armstrong in the fourth quarter, after Dennis came back in, he legitimately said, he said something like, I would have just kept Gary on and run Scottie at the point. Like he said that as the momentum started dying, and he's just confused. Like Jack's confused.
Real calm saying, you better not be talking about trading Pascal. He's not the problem. Trade Poeltl and Flynn along with Darko. Bro, how can you watch this game and not see Pascal as part of the problem? He is absolutely part of the problem. What are you talking about? Watch the fucking defense, bro.
Yeah.
Like, you don't even need to, like, I don't even think you need to go into game film. Watch the highlights. Watch Denver Nuggets highlights. Just watch like their feeds highlights and tell me where Pascal and Dennis are on those defensive plays. I swear to God, I saw Pascal quit on a play twice in 12 seconds.
Oh, yo, here's a big revelation that happened today. Something massive happened.
What happened?
It was at the 8-minute mark in the fourth quarter. We had no Malachi or Dennis on the court.
Yes, I remember that.
For the first in the 27th game of the year, Darko finally said,
it's happened before.
Has it?
Yeah, twice.
Oh my! I don't remember it. By the way, just out of curiosity, Rob, did we get the ball up the court?
Mm-hmm.
Did they trap Scottie?
Nope.
Did it all fall apart?
No, but Scottie did have a really high dribble, which almost went nowhere. But he got it back and he scored on Jamal Murray.
I mean,
look, man, like honestly, I don't need anyone to prove to me Scottie can play point. He's played point in EYBL, played point AAU, played point in high school. I just described the same thing 3 times to make my point sound more convincing, but whatever. I just literally described the same year. I was like, he played point in grade school. He played point in grade 6, grade 7, grade 8, grade 9, grade 10. He played point for Florida State. He played point in the playoffs. He played point every single game that Fred VanVleet was out last year. Do I need further proof that Scottie Barnes can play point guard in the NBA? No, I do not. Because the Raptors have 2 wins, 2 fucking wins, 2 playoff wins in the last 5 years.
Yeah.
No, 4 years.
4 years. Yep.
Scottie played point for both those wins. So I don't need any proof.
There and this starting lineup, what's crazy about it is there's no chemistry between Dennis and the other 4 starters at all. But
he just runs around with a fucking chicken, like a chicken with his head cut off. He just dribble in the yo. Like I swear to God, I wish they mic'd up Nikola Jokic because he's hilarious, right? Like if you ever sat like close to a Nikola Jokic game, he is really funny. And I swear to God, like I wonder if he's just sitting there like, yo, do something. Hey, Dennis, do something. Because he eliminated Serbia. Like this is personal, right? But like, I mean, shit. Like, do you see how, like, I have never seen a team react less to a player being in the paint than teams react to Dennis being in the paint. They're just like, yo, like, we're going to be here. You want to visit us in the paint? Come on in. It doesn't do anything. It doesn't do shit. Okay. It doesn't open up a corner. It doesn't open up a driving lane. It doesn't do shit for the defense. Once in a while, once every 6 times or 7 times he does it, he finds a corner shooter and he gets an assist. Congratulations. But for the most part, it does not shift the defense because defenses don't fucking care about him.
Also,
and you can keep telling yourself this guy's a MVP or FIBA this or whatever, but nobody else fucking cares. And if defenses refuse to guard you, like we learned with Scottie Barnes last year, if defenses refuse to guard you, there's not a lot else you can do. You are absolutely going to be a negative out there.
Do you know who led us in assists today?
Who? Malachi?
Nope, Dennis.
That's of course. Yeah.
Recipe for disaster. Also, that caller that talked about the Will Lou show, bro, I agree about some of the things they were saying, and they were using Will Lou used a term that I think is kind of appropriate. He called it toxic positivity. Because it's like the house is burning and you have a smile on your face and you're not changing shit, but you're telling us to have fun. You're telling Malachi Flynn you're too cute to be upset. but then you trot out the exact same starting lineup.
Okay, look, man, the quote itself was bad enough. You don't need to amend the quote. He said to him, when you are not smiling, you are ugly.
Bro, that's what a guy says
For
to
a
a
what?
girl at a party.
A what?
That's what a guy says to a girl at a party.
Oh yeah, it is.
Come.
We need like some of that romantic music for Malachi, and just a heart around him and the kiss camera, and every single time he goes to Darko. Yo, I'm losing patience with this dude, and I hate to say it, but here's one thing about me that people should know. I don't give a shit where I'm from, and I don't give a shit where you're from. I really don't. So I'm from Chachik. Darko is from Chachik. It's my hometown guy. I don't care. You coach this way, I'm not sitting here supporting you. Like, it's not a what have you done for me lately, but I'm certainly not going to support trash decisions. And this has been a trash decision since day one. I mean, we can go back to my Instagram post. Literally, the minute Dennis came on board, he said, I'm here to be a leader. And I said, what? I made a reel about it right away. I've been bothered by this guy since day one. And I've been telling y'all since day one, he ain't it. No matter when he was going well, and now when he's going bad, I haven't changed my tune on him for 1 second. Have I? Tell me I'm wrong. I haven't changed my tune on him for 1 second. So this insistence that you can just take a guy who's not very good player, he's not even in the conversation of a Terry Rozier.
Nope.
Not even close. I've seen Terry Rozier play for the Boston Celtics, and I have seen a really high impact player. He's not in the conversation for a Marcus Smart. He's not in those conversations. He's certainly not in the Ja Morant and Desmond Bane conversations, but he certainly acts like it. And I legit can't stand this guy, man. Like, honestly, there are Raptor players that I have not liked in the past, and then there's this. It is next level, because at least with Fred, I could be like, okay, I get that he's a good player. He's just taking on a bad role and blah, 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 blah. He's betting on himself too much. But this is like, it's honestly, it's so much worse than Mike James. It's so much worse than Mike James, because Mike James was actually good at basketball. He was a good shooter. Check his stats. He shot like 44% that year. Like, it was crazy.
When was the last time Dennis outperformed the opposing point guard? Because last couple games, it's Jamal Murray lighting him up. It's Terry Rozier lighting him up. It's Jalen Brunson lighting him up. And you just trot him out there. We're going to match his minutes to Trey. Oh, my God. Really?
38 points.
Bro, Scottie played 33 minutes tonight. He only played 2 more minutes than Dennis Schroder. I'm in the twilight zone.
Sheridan Forbes saying, Rob, don't turn on your fellow countrymen just yet. Front office is ghostwriting the script for Darko. Is a Pascal and all of Masai's recent signings must play, just not young guys, of course. Look, man, I think I've followed Masai long enough to know that if Darko went up to him and said, I don't want to start Dennis right now, I need to make a change in the starting lineup, he would not stand in the way of it. There's no fucking way.
Exactly.
Like that's just not how Masai operates.
Jakob. You could argue Jakob because of the commitment.
Yeah, like the Jakob thing is different, but with Dennis, there's no fucking way.
No way.
Now, here's a secret genius of it, right? Now, granted, if you had your pick, this would be super genius. If this draft was great, I don't think any of us would be complaining. If we had our pick and the draft was great, none of us would say shit. We'd be like, great, keep losing, right?
Scottie
I think most of us would be rooting for Tank.
If Scottie
Scottie's playing,
God forbid Scottie went down, yeah, we're going for that pick.
I mean, even if Scottie's not going down, like, who cares? Like, Scottie's playing well. The team around him is not. Tank. I think no one would really have a problem with that. But because you don't have your pick and this draft is absolutely ass, like, it's really bad. It's not just that it's not top heavy. It's not bottom heavy either. It's not deep. It's not good. It just sucks. It's not like one of those drafts where you're like, oh, well, if you end up with a 30th pick or 18th pick, you'll get good depth. No, man, it just sucks. It just sucks. It just sucks across the board. I'm trying to get hype about this draft for like 2 years, and I can't bring my brain around to it because it just sucks. There are guys who are being talked about as top 5 players that I don't think would have been lottery picks last year. It's really bad.
Don't you think it's weird though how Darko has no problem at all benching Jakob
Mhm.
with absolute reckless abandon, regardless of what his contract is and what we gave up for him in the trade deadline. He doesn't care. There are games he plays like 15 minutes. It's whatever.
Right.
And rarely finishes a fourth quarter. But he can't be like, you know what? We're making a comeback. Let me sit Dennis. Not possible. Anyways, last thing I'm gonna say. I wonder how much Dennis pays that one reporter. Like at the parking lot after every press conference. I think Dennis is at the parking lot giving this guy a stack of euros to ask Scottie Barnes, yo, what can you learn from Dennis? Like, I've never seen a bigger propaganda human being. Just for
Like
absolute
what was it?
mediocrity.
Is this Spanish reporter?
I don't know what he is, but he's a Dennis agent.
Dennis.
Like you'll see him handing him a bag, an envelope in the parking lot.
Oh my God.
Dumbest questions. I don't, Rob, God bless you. I don't know how you watch these post-game pressers with these dumbass questions that they basically have the answer in the question. How important is it to get rebounds on a night where you're turning the ball over? Huh? Really important. I just, you got to be paid millions to answer these questions, bro. You have to.
Yeah, it's bad. It's real bad. Speaking of the post game, we're gonna go to the post game shortly, like right now. But
so how many more games? How many more games until the starting lineup changes? Because he said 2 games, and then I guess.
But we won 2 of the next 3. But I mean, granted, like the overall trend is so negative for this team right now.
Every time this Rob, I'm happy we lost. The moment Dennis came back into the game, I wanted us to lose. I want this
like it's been happening all year. It's been happening all year.
I want us to keep losing. And if he loses his job, God bless him. You're going down for Dennis. Good for you. You deserve it.
Oh, you mean Darko?
Yep. If you want to go down for Dennis, good for you. I don't think my mother loves me that much. I don't think my mother loves me that much.
Yeah, I know my mother didn't love me that much. Like I know for a fact. Like, yo, if I played as trash as Dennis, she would have disowned me straight up. She'd be like, "You are hurting the team. You need to go fucking like go live on the streets." Anyways, P, any positives about this game? I think Precious Achiuwa played well, for the most part. I think like he played with good energy. I loved Malachi splashing a couple threes and just being pesky and playing with pace, man. Like he played hard. P, thanks a lot for this question. Actually, like I'm running so negative right now that I'm not even I'm completely ignoring. There were some positives in this game, right? I think Gary, granted, like he didn't have the greatest statistical night, but I think overall, like he was decent. Like
what would Precious and Gary look like? Like how good would they look if they're playing with Pascal and Scottie more? Because I feel like these guys aren't getting a fair shake, especially Gary, because it's like they're struggling, yeah, but they're playing with like earlier on they were playing with McDaniels and Grady Dick and Boucher, and it's like, I mean, it's tough, right? I mean, you saw Siakam, I think in that third, fourth, he was the bench guy, right? He was the bench guy.
Mm-hmm.
And that didn't work. Like,
yeah,
Siakam couldn't save that lineup, right?
I mean, I'm kind of curious why. Fresh Point saying, Rob, would you take a trade discussion call? Yeah, absolutely, I would. And also, I'm gonna do a live tomorrow, I believe, with Leo from Sacramento Kings, and we'll probably touch on some trades and maybe even see if we can swing a trade for the Sacramento Kings. Yeah, there was a question earlier about who I would pick to change like the coaching, like who would I pick to coach this team. I'm curious if you have any names in mind. Coach Budenholzer, recycling the old with the new, whatever. He certainly, tactically speaking, would be an upgrade.
Did he ever run
I mean, he ran the Atlanta Hawks, man.
Did he ever run Giannis at the 1? Or Giannis with barely any ball handling help?
I mean, Giannis has had like 37, 38% usage, 40% usage under Budenholzer. Like he absolutely has. And I mean, like it would help to have a guy who's coached Giannis to coach Scottie, because like Scottie year 3 is very close to Giannis year 4. It's like a very similar type of player, but Scottie's a better shooter. So the upside trajectory, it seems crazy to say, but the upside trajectory with Scottie is actually a little bit higher than Giannis. So
I agree. But
yeah,
that actually happening is a totally different story.
Yeah. Dr. Dredd saying my choice is JJ Redick to replace Darko right now. My choice is not, but I understand why you'd feel that way. He's certainly like a very direct guy and carries a lot of charisma. Why not Jordi Fernandez? I mean, he was my initial, pickup. And honestly, like I would not be surprised. Like I don't think Darko is going to lose his job, and I'm certainly not calling for that because I understand that there are, extenuating circumstances at play, etc. But I do want to say if he does lose his job, expect Jama Malalela to be interim head coach.
And what's also not good for Darko is, remember the fan sentiment turning on Fred?
Mm-hmm.
Bro, they're turning on Darko, huh? They're not liking this dude right now.
Yeah, because it's frustrating to see a guy do the same thing like 25 times and just keep talking about preaching patience and dodging the question. I mean, you can't dodge the question. This is something I've learned.
Toxic positivity. Fake.
I don't think it's toxic. I don't think it's toxic positivity. I think he's being very direct. So in one sense, like I do want to I have been thinking about it for a while. I don't think Willu is right to say it's toxic positivity. Toxic positivity is completely different. This is just positivity. They think it's toxic positivity because they're negative people, to be completely honest with you.
But like he's changing nothing. Like when he
do you see what, here's the thing. There's always false consciousness when it comes to politics, and I hate how much sports and politics are kind of interwoven, but they really are. And look, right now, to me, the obvious, issue is, look, Darko Rajakovic is not like the guy who held on to Pascal Siakam way too long. That's Masai Ujiri. Darko Rajakovic is not the guy who inked the dotted line for Dennis Schroder. Regardless of what Dennis Schroder says, he's here for Darko. He's here for Darko. Look, man, like Justice Winslow said, he's here for Darko. A lot of guys like this guy. What I am gonna trust is that Scottie liking him, Grady liking him, Gary liking him is probably a good omen that he is not lost the locker room and at least is a good dude. Now, being a good dude and having power within the organization are two separate things. Having the power to change the lineups, you have to go with what you have. I mean, what do you want him to do? Start Malachi? Yeah, of course. We all want him to start Scottie, but Gary's played horribly this year. He's also been pretty bad defensively for the most part, right? So there is a thought process that, hey, if I bench Darko, or if I bench Dennis, and Gary comes in and the lineup has not changed and the problem is not solved, well, now I've kind of shifted the locker room a little bit, right? You can't really be the leader if you're getting benched, right? I mean, you can. I think you can. I think, you know what, Dennis wants to be a leader? Honestly, volunteer to come off the bench. That would make you a leader.
But Rob, besides Darko and Dennis, who on the roster legitimately looks at Dennis as the leader figure of this team, as the new Fred?
I don't. You don't need a Fred.
No, but I'm saying, like, how can you be a leader on the bench? Like, he has no history here. I don't think he really has even relationships to the point where it's a big deal if he goes to the bench.
Yeah, like
sending Fred to the bench, that would have been big.
The false consciousness, first of all, it would have been unwarranted, but it would have made sense from the perspective that your bench is struggling so much and someone's got to come off the bench, right? And obviously you need to get Scottie the ball. And look, man, like when Scottie had the ball, I tell you, I bet the under on points for the Raptors, right? Almost anytime Scottie was on the court, that cash out value went down, because the score went up. The pace went up. The minute Dennis came in, cash out value went right back up because I took the under. If I'd taken the over, it would have been the complete opposite. I think I bet under 242. I was like, there's no way in hell these two teams are going to score 242. Even if the Denver Nuggets score 140 points, I don't think the Raptors would score 100 on this team. And that's where I was. So ultimately, Dennis fucks up the pace. Scottie does not. Fred also fucked up the pace, in my opinion. Scottie does not. Scottie always plays fast. And for better or worse, that's going to, it's good. When you're not as talented, you should play faster.
Jakob and Dennis are two slower paced players.
Yeah, they are.
They actually make our transition defense bad because they're both horrible cross matchup players. They both suck at cross matchups.
They do, but Jakob's a little bit better. I mean, honestly, like he's at least a smart defender. And I mean, like as much as we say like he doesn't help with the spacing. I think spacing is like with anything else, like rebounding, right? Brandon Podziemski helps with rebounding, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's helping shore up some of the rebounding at the guard position that Draymond would have provided you at the center position or the power forward position. So you can play a little bit smaller because he's shoring up the defensive rebounding on that side because he's relentless. It's the same thing with Gary Payton. Gary Payton II. It's like with the Warriors, right? So Clay's not a great rebounder. Wiggins is a better rebounder. So if you move Wiggins to the bench, you need to make up that rebounding somehow. I always look at lineups in terms of, matching, like trying to get to that level, if that makes sense, where you have just enough of this thing. And it's the same thing with shooting. It's the same thing with passing, playmaking, dribble creation, all of it, right? So when I look at this lineup, the spacing is really an issue because Dennis, right? And Jakob. But one of those players is a net negative on defense too. So they're not only hurting your defense, they're also hurting your offense. Dennis is hurting both sides. That's the difference. Jakob, you can argue certainly that you are a little bit more mobile and switchable with Precious. I don't think you're better defensively with Precious. That's a hard pill for me to swallow. That Precious
is Jakob that much better rebounder than Precious? Because I checked the rebounding percentage is higher for Precious.
He's not, but in terms of like
offensive rebound,
post defense and just overall like
Rob.
Rim protection, communication, backline communication, rotations, etc.
IQ, yes. But we saw Clint Capella just body and get layups. We saw Aaron Gordon get to the rim on Jakob on one, get an offensive rebound, put it back. So I get that, and theoretically you're right. But then we watch the games.
Yeah.
I mean, what would it hurt if we just started Precious and Gary? And literally have the comeback crew start the game.
Your bench. I mean, you would ideally then you would.
I want to stagger. I want to stagger. People say stagger Pascal and Scottie. I say stagger Pascal and Scottie away from Jakob and Dennis. Keep them two together. Have them run the bench.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like I'm blue in the face. I'm talking about this for like what feels like
separate those two.
Yeah, we've been talking about this for over a month, man. It's not happening. It's just they're not doing it. Anyways, I'm gonna go to the post game live. Thanks a lot for calling in as always. This sucks, but hopefully, I don't know. Hopefully, we'll be competitive against Philadelphia. If we're not competitive against Philadelphia, we're
doomed. The road trip is
7 games under 500
with a road trip.
Yeah. But I mean, look, man. With Dennis on the court, you want another positive for tonight? With Dennis on the court, Scottie still ran point.
You know what? Dennis.
Did you notice that?
Someone tapped Dennis on the shoulder after that Miami game. Someone higher up said, buddy, it may have been Masai who wrapped his arms around him and said, buddy. Because he's not throwing him the ball. Like he's deferring. It's insane. It's like the complete opposite.
I mean, I guess someone showed him his stats and said, hey man, you not him. Or maybe Scottie pulled the Quentin Grimes, like the Quentin Grimes. You is not him. Maybe he did that to Dennis in practice, and Dennis came down to earth. I have no idea. Anyways, all right, man. Have a good one. Peace. All right, let us get to the post game and see what the Raptors had to say about this one.
Looks at Jokic, but seeing whoever he put on him, he got pretty much what he wanted. It's Nikola Jokic. It's nothing new in this league. It's happening every single night. First half, he was at 9 points, and second half, he got his game. We got a little bit in the zone there. They get us some life against the second unit, but once he came in the game, he was really good in catching the ball and attacking and finishing in the paint. That's Jokic every single night. 3 points, 15 rebounds, assists. So he did his job.
And their other guys got you too. They got a bunch of guys, 5 guys in double figures, one off the bench. Like, it wasn't just him. But that's the attention we need to attract, right?
That's the thing. Like every time when we came to help and overhelp, he found the right pass. He found his guys. On some of those shots, they made shots. Some of those they missed them. But that ball is always finding the right guy, an open guy. We try to come from the top and just when he does not have great vision, and he would just throw the ball to wide open guy on the other side, and it's really hard. Like if you don't help, he's gonna score. If you overhelp and try to stop him, he's gonna try to make the right play and find open man.
As far as Scottie, this was a really big game for him. Were you impressed with his aggression from the first quarter onwards?
He did a great job. He was the one guy that first half that he had energy and he was really fighting there. We were flat in the first half. Was it because maybe we missed a couple of layups or open shots? I don't know, but our defense was not good. They scored 40 points in the first half in the paint, and we kept them to 22 in the second half. Same players, same people, with just different mentality, different disposition, and I thought we won the second half, but against this type of team, you gotta have respect for them from the jump ball, but we gotta have respect for ourselves from the jump ball. And our energy was, for whatever reason, was not there. We gotta be much better.
Do you think that affected, when you guys were running offense, Denver was able to make it so 2 passes away, you guys had to get the ball to score a lot of times, whereas sometimes through the skip or sometimes 1 pass away. Do you think a lot of that is effort or scheme as far as making sure the other team has to make that extra pass?
It's both. There is no scheme that can work without effort, and only when you have effort, you can really see if the scheme is working or not. The hardest thing is when there is no true effort and high effort to evaluate your schemes, because nothing is going to work, and then you're going to say, should we adjust, should we not adjust? It's always that fine line. At the end of the day, we got to do much better and really give more effort from the start of the game. We dig ourselves a 15-point hole at halftime and trying to fight back, and we came close. But against this experienced team, it's going to be hard, to win it on home, on the road, or wherever. So we got to do better.
What would you like to have seen more of with your team when they trimmed that deficit down to 5?
You could see the energy level was just different. We were pressuring the ball, we were getting more deflections. We got to come up with defensive rebounds, and when we do that, it allows us to go out in transition and run, because quality of our offense is so tied with the defense and getting stops and getting defensive rebounds. Once we accomplish that, we have a chance to run. If they're scoring the bucket and we're just walking up the floor, it's going to be hard for us to score.
I think it's 6 of the last 7 games now where you guys have been outscored with Yak on the floor. His minutes have been down the last couple of games. What are you seeing from him? Have these just been bad matchups or something he needs to be doing better?
I think Jakob is a very, very good basketball player. Obviously, last couple of games he did not play to his level, and I really, really believe that he's going to turn it around very quickly. I think he's better than he's performing right now, and I'm going to talk to him, and I'm going to do everything I can in my power to help him to turn the corner and beat Jakob that we know.
Saying that the starters are struggling, the unit with Gary coming in for Scottie, those numbers are down. We talked maybe a week or 2 ago about changing the lineups. Is that something you're considering anymore, or do you still want to give them a chance to figure it out?
We are considering. We are talking about it. It's something that's there. I don't think necessarily that it's just like starting the game, because we start subbing out very, very quickly, and but it is something that we talk about. But also subbing.
But have you tried subbing out the players that are actually hurting your starting lineup? You keep subbing out your best player at the 4-minute mark. This is such a misleading statement. It's borderline like disingenuous.
Not starting any of those guys, it's a ripple effect what it does for the rest of the team, and who's going to be.
You're not playing one of your 6 best players in Otto Porter at all, probably because you have a mandate from up above saying like, hey, we got to keep this guy healthy for trades. But I refuse to believe that there isn't a 9-man rotation that works on this team. I refuse. It's simple. You know the most frustrating thing about this? You have a guy this smart who's acting this stupid.
Playing, he's not going to be playing. And if you do that, it might be shrinking the rotation to 8 players or 7 players. And I'm not sure that we want to go.
Whoa. Shrinking the rotation to 8 players, 7 players. Malachi was not the problem tonight. He's been a problem a lot of nights, but he's not the problem tonight. Precious has been a problem a lot of nights. He wasn't the problem tonight. Chris Boucher and Gary Trent Jr. certainly weren't the problem. Are you talking about maybe shrinking Dennis's role down to 0 minutes? Because that might help.
That route.
Regarding those conversations, are those mostly had with the coaching staff, or do you start breaching that with players early on now? Regarding like if you're going to shake up the rotation in the lineup.
We're talking to coaching staff. If we would do anything, we would talk to players as well.
Or sort of north of 10 points, around 7 boards, over 50% from the field, almost 40% from 3 over your last 9 games, more minutes. What has been changing with your role, and what are you seeing out there for this improved level of play?
Just finding my rhythm, really. I was out quite a bit through training camp and beginning of the season, in and out, injuries, whatnot. Just finding my rhythm, as we continue to play.
You find that that's correlated with like a higher usage? Are you getting a little bit more freedom to look for your own opportunities on ball or anything like that?
I do want to say that Samson and Precious have had some hilarious exchanges in the past. I don't think this is going to be one of them.
It's just playing, reading the game, letting the game come to you. And within that, you find your rhythm. The more you play, the more rhythm you kind of like get into. And that's really what it is, really.
Darko was in here earlier talking about effort and how 48-minute effort is not there every night. And just wondering if you feel that way and what can be done to maybe correct it if you do.
I think we just got to, that's on us as players, we got to control what we can control. I think that's something that we could go out there and control every night. Our effort, being able to play every minute of the game like it really actually matters, you know what I mean? So that's on us as players, so we just got to find a way to accomplish that, and, I don't know what type of motivation we probably need, but we got to do something to play 48 minutes of intense basketball, I think.
Is there any logical reason for it not being accomplished?
I can't give you a logical reason right now. I just think I honestly don't have an answer to that question. It's just one of those things where you don't really have an answer to.
There was a point in the game, I think you guys got 4 or 5 points, within 4 or 5 points in the fourth quarter. What do you think was working for your squad at that point?
I think we're just playing with a lot of effort that interval of the game. Guys are really just flying around. I'm playing with a lot of effort. Defensively, we got a lot of stops. Even if we didn't get stops, we made them work for every possession. And on the other side of the ball game, we just played, took what the game gave to us.
When you step on the court and you talk about finding your rhythm and things are kind of like clicking, like what's the first thing that's going through your mind? How do you find your rhythm? How do you initiate that?
Just playing, being able to make reads off of my teammates, being able to read my teammates as well, and being able to put myself in position, whether it's defensively or offensively, to to help the team in that particular moment in time. So for me, that's just part of rhythm. And I think the most important thing is defensively, going out there, whether it's switching 1 through 5, whatever the case may be, just being able to, affect the game positively when I'm out there.
I think a lot of people look at the Raptors, you guys, as having a lot of defensive talent and are expecting big things. Between you guys, the players, what are those conversations like when you feel like you're not really clicking and maybe you're not getting the effort level you need?
I mean, it's frustrating for us more than the people, the viewers. Definitely just looking around the locker room and knowing that there's a lot of defensive talent, in the squad, and we're not being able to perform to our potential on that side of the ball game. It's very frustrating, and that kind of goes back to the question you asked about effort. I think we got to figure something out to do where we could get 48 minutes of playing with effort. I don't know how to answer that. I don't know what the solution is, but I just think that is something that we need to fix, pretty soon.
He was saying earlier that he's concerned about what he sees as a lack of effort for the full 48 minutes. And Precious says he doesn't have an answer for the reason why. Do you?
Just got to come out with a sense of urgency. I think we started off the game solid. I think around like the end of the first, second quarter, it was just getting easy ones. It's like layups and offensive rebounds to layups. Just throughout the whole game, it was just getting like some offensive rebounds, some easy mid-range. We just got to contest and come together as a team, talk, and we just got with that sense of urgency that just want to win. We had some of that, but just not the whole game.
What are the conversations like between the players without specifics? Is there anger, disappointment, confusion? What's the mood like?
No, I think we're more positive. We're more on the positive side. We know what we need to do out there. We're communicating. We just got to go out there and put the effort and show it out there on the floor.
What do you guys do to hold each other accountable for effort?
I think everybody on our team wants to win, so we have time in the game when we timeouts. We're all talking throughout the timeouts of what we need to do. We all know what we need to do, and we just got to just put ourselves in that position to try to win. Sometimes we just have those lapses in the game, and we just got to be able to not allow that to go on for longer periods of times.
As far as aggression, scoring in the half court and scoring like in full court stuff, this has been a really, really strong stretch for you. As far as initiating the offense, what have you been seeing more from defenses lately as far as what your response is?
I don't really know. Every team, they still play different. Today, it's been more in transition, just trying to find those early attacks and just trying to be aggressive, Our offense got stagnant a little bit, so just trying to be able to stop the standing around and just be able to just get some ball screens, run into things, and just doing some quick things to just help our offense get going. I was just trying to do those little things to get our offense going.
Scottie, when you look at a player like Jokic and how it can affect the game in so many different ways, do you look at that and is there things from the way he plays, the patience he plays with, that you see a little bit of yourself in or that you'd like to adopt for your own game?
He uses his body really well. Be able to get it to the post, and then he just draws so much attention where, they got shooters everywhere where he either spraying out to shooters, always got a low dunker man, or he can just take it all the way to the basket. So, he's a big problem down there where he uses his body really well and his size and ability to pass, He's able to do all those things. I want to say I'm like him, but, I'm just able to see the floor and be able to attack. But, he's different with his size and his ability to see the whole floor and just know where everyone's at and being able to hit those type of guys.
Your name has been tossed around in all-star conversations. You've obviously been putting up really big numbers. As far as coverages you're seeing from other teams, have you noticed an uptick in more blitzes, more aggressive coverages so far this season?
I'm gonna say more blitzes. I'm seeing more of just being more aware of where I'm at 3-point line. They're not really letting me just shoot the threes, or they're closing out a little bit more. But just still trying to be able to find ways to get those open ones. Just try to find them. I'm just playing the game the right way, and everything else just comes in.
Game. Any screen coverages, like maybe not the blitz, but as far as like edge, up to touch, drop, anything like that?
Nah, I don't really. Every team, like I said, they play differently. Jokic, he plays a little bit more higher than usual bigs plays, like a little aggression, shows a little aggression. But you just can't allow that to defer you away from trying to get to the basket and making those reads.
Scottie, what is the benefit of playing a top 3 team in the West, and then the next game is going to be a top 3 team in the East at this point in the season?
I think it just shows. It can show who we really are. We got to go out there every night and be able to play the right way. It's a good challenge for us. Go out there today. We didn't come out with the win, but we just got to keep going out there every night and put in a strong effort to try to win. We feel like we can go out there and compete and beat these teams. So that's what we're going to try to go out there and do.
Okay, we're gonna have Fresh Paint on to talk about some trades. Certainly, I want to take like a 2-minute detour here to just look at some of this tape. Now, the last time I did this, the video got demonetized, and I don't want this video to get demonetized. So I'm gonna try to freeze frame it. Okay, so I'm not gonna show you the whole thing. I just want to show you a little bit of it. Okay, so. First of all, let me turn the volume down so it's a little less annoying. Is this it? Nope. You know what? Maybe I'll do a film breakdown tomorrow of this game and just selectively choose, because there's some really, really dumb defense being played here. Hang on. It's the 29 second mark. So it's right here. Nope. That's not it. What? Or did he already do it? Okay, let me try this. Here we go. Look at this fantastic defense by Dennis Schroder. Just bear with me for a second. Just look at this. He does this 5 times a game. Okay. Closing out completely out of control. Gets completely out of the play. Runs the guy off the line. Right? Now, at this point, how many players are open? Everyone. Everyone's open. Jokic is open. Aaron Gordon's open. Michael Porter Jr. is open. That one breakdown and completely pulling yourself out of the play basically opens up this entire offense. And yes, they will score, in case you're wondering. Okay. Now, hang on one second. I want to take it to the end of the game. I think there was a particular moment where they scored. Just bear with me. I'm sorry. I'm scrolling and I'm trying not to get demonetized here, but yeah, I just want to get the exact timestamp here. I don't mind when a team scores and like they're just better than you, right? Like that happens. Certainly it happens. Hang on. You know what would help, actually, if I shared my... no, that may not be it. Bear with me for 1 second, guys. I'm sorry. I gotta find this. Or I could literally just screenshot while I'm talking to Fresh Paint. I could do that as well. Otherwise, I'm going to be scrolling like a crazy person. I'm just desperately trying not to get demonetized because the NBA is very, very sticky. Okay, I found it. It is the 8:03 mark. Okay, let's get to this. 8:0. Okay. Check out this defense from Dennis Schroder. I'm going to freeze it. Okay. So he gets picked off here. He's trailing the play. And he just decides, not my problem. So he and Precious Achiuwa just gift. And this is like with the game on the line, right? You're 7 points, 4 minutes to go. If you're staging a run, this is it. And they just give it up. It was a lot of stuff like this. Let me see the next play down. Okay. So we're at the 8:34 mark. Hang on 1 second. Okay. Now, basically, you got 3 to the ball here. And the one guy who's being guarded by 3 players is the guy who scores. It's a problem, right? Because right now, it's not even that he scores. It's that if he wanted to drop this off to Michael Porter Jr., there's absolutely nothing you can do. If he wanted to kick this out to Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, there's nothing you're going to do there. It's just like galore. Like I could go to pretty much any defensive possession for the Raptors, and I could pretty much find you the same issue. Okay, here the Raptors are on defense. I don't even know what's happening here, and I'll almost guarantee you this is a ridiculous defensive play. Okay. I'm going to guess. Okay, can you guess? I don't remember this play. Can you guess based on where we're at right now in this play, where this ball is going? Let me know in the comments. Where is this ball going? Can you guess? That's Nikola Jokic driving on Gary Trent Jr. Bueno Kitty saying Gary Trent Jr. versus the Jokic in the paint. I'm dead. Absolutely. Well, where do you think this ball is going? It says MPJ. I'm going to guess is going to Kentavious Caldwell-Pope in the corner. Yep. And guess who's his man? Why are you doubling? Now, here's my question for Pascal Siakam defenders out there. Why is he so far away from a corner shooter? Right? Like, unless you're going to tell me that the scouting report on KCP is he can't hit open threes, you've got basically everything is sagging in the middle right now. I mean, I guess technically you could say Scottie's supposed to be the help on Gary, and then, Pascal would rotate over to let's see how they handle it. I'm curious, actually, because this is barbecue chicken for Nikola Jokic. So, I mean, if your goal was to stop Aaron Gordon, you haven't done it, because he's got an open dunk right now. If he throws it over Scottie, that's like probably a dunk, right? Because he's got inside position. He's also got rebounding position on you in terms of offensive rebounding. So if Jokic decides to miss this shot, you're not getting the rebound either, because Scottie's going to contest it. And then Aaron Gordon has beat you for inside position. So you're not stopping anybody if you're Pascal Siakam. And you're definitely not stopping. Oh, okay, never mind. Okay, cool. Am I thinking about a different play? Hang on. Oh, I'm so getting demonetized. Again, it's not even that they scored. It's how they scored. Okay. So here, Precious Achiuwa and OG Anunoby, the ball screen. OG gets behind. Look at the two. What's Michael Porter Jr. doing? Like KCP's like, get out of my corner, bro. Oh, we saw that one. That was a Scottie score. And that was Jokic just hitting a bailout three. The game was pretty much over at that point. But if it wasn't over at that point, it was definitely over there. I need to do a video breakdown, like a proper video breakdown of this game. Sorry, I'm trying to scroll without getting demonetized. Yeah. Okay, Fresh Paint, what's up, man?
Hey, man. First time calling. Hopefully you can hear me.
I can hear you, yes.
Awesome. Great. Yeah, so I just wanted to chat a trade, but I also wanted to just talk some reasons why I think they're not benching people.
Sure.
I think there's like two main reasons, and they're.
Can you stop rubbing your mic if you don't mind? Like, I think you're rubbing your mic. Yeah,
it's probably just my computer. Hopefully that's
okay.
Better. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think there's two reasons that are like have nothing to do with coaching or with the players. I think it has to do more just like internally and just the Raptors being north of the border. The first one being like I think it's just really hard to attract talent, historically at least, to Toronto. And
sure.
So they've had a history of, I think, trying to have a great reputation with players in terms of how they treat them, their contracts and stuff like that. So benching, I mean,
how's their reputation with Gary Trent Jr.?
Yeah, I mean, Gary Trent Jr. is probably
Chris Boucher.
Yeah,
Otto
but
Porter.
those guys I don't think have ever been seen or aren't seen currently necessarily by most teams as starting players. Otto Porter
is Dennis.
No, I don't think so.
Otto has certainly started more in his career than Dennis, and he's the exact same age, and he's a much better player.
I totally agree.
So why is he not starting? Chris Boucher has started in spurts, not regularly.
Oh, totally.
Gary Trent Jr. has certainly started more games over the last 3 years than Schroder. So I don't agree with this.
It isn't so much about Dennis Schroder. I agree. Like I think they could probably bench Dennis Schroder, but in terms of Poeltl, I think
who has he started for? He has started for a team that was consistently first round fodder or a complete lottery team.
It's true.
Okay, so
but don't you think you still think that most teams out there would see him as a starting center in this kind of position?
Okay,
I think
I'll bite. No. Let's play this out.
I think like
I'm gonna try to hold on. I'm gonna pull up the screen.
And not just that, I think too, just on like keeping on the same line of thought is that they brought him in with the idea that he would be a starter, and so I think like if you bench someone for
did they not bring Gary Trent Jr. in with the like again if it's good for the goose, it's good for the gander, right? Like it's gotta apply to both. So if we're gonna use logic that is going to apply to 28-year-old Jakob Poeltl and it's not going to apply to 24-year-old Gary Trent, then I have an issue with that. Then you're playing favorites.
Did they bring Gary Trent in to start? Because they
absolutely.
Yeah.
He's been their starting shooting guard until they traded for Jakob Poeltl. He was consistently their starting shooting guard. Nobody started over him at the two. Who was starting over him? He was a permanent fixture in that starting lineup.
They cycled quite a bit with him, but maybe.
Pardon?
I thought last year they cycled quite a bit, moving him back and forth between starting and not starting.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. I mean, they benched him a lot early, but I mean, like for at least 3 years there, he was seen as the future at the two for the Raptors. He was an integral part of their scheme, which was built on getting possessions, etc. He did go to the bench. You're right. Who started in his place?
I'm not saying I agree with this philosophy necessarily, but I think like the team is trying to do this, is trying to maintain reputations with people they bring in to some degree. But you're right. I think like they maybe haven't done as well on some players, but I guess it depends on optics from other teams in the league as to who they see as like and how they're treating them.
Well, so here's the thing. You mentioned that most teams would, or at least you questioned if most teams would see Jakob Poeltl as a starter. So I'm genuinely curious. It's a very much a thought experiment as anything else. I'm going to cycle through the teams in the East and then the West, and you let me know which team he would start for. Would he start over Al Horford and Kristaps Porzingis?
Probably not. No.
Definitely not.
Yeah.
Would he start over Brook Lopez?
No, definitely not.
Would he start over Joel Embiid?
No.
So we're already in the top 3 teams in the East.
Oh, yeah,
he would not be a starter.
Yeah.
Okay, would he start over Wendell Carter Jr.?
I'm not sure.
Absolutely not.
No.
Would he start over Mitchell Robinson and Isaiah Hartenstein? Both of them. I don't think so. Would he start over Jared Allen or Evan Mobley? No. Would he start over Bam Adebayo?
No.
Okay. Would he start over Miles? Would he start over Miles Turner?
No.
Okay. Would he be enough of an upgrade over Obi Toppin for them to play big and move away from everything they've been doing with their fast-paced offense? Probably not, right? Okay. Would he start over? Would he start over Nick Claxton?
No.
Would he start over Clint Capella?
No.
Okay. So now we're at the Raptors. Would he start over Nikola Vucevic?
Vuce, probably. Yeah.
I don't think he would.
I would start him. I mean, if you look at like PER, he's way above Vucevic in ratings right
now. Is he?
Yeah, like a good 10 positions.
I mean,
Vucevic.
PER is like the worst stat in the world, but yeah. Like I mean, offensively, it kills your spacing. You already don't have a ton of spacing with DeMar not being a big 3-point shooter.
Yeah. DeMar not being a good 3-point would definitely make that really hard. So,
and also they pay Vucevic nearly $20+ million a year. There's no way politically he would start on that team. Would he start over Mark Williams for the Hornets? I don't think he would. I think Mark Williams is the future for that team. I don't think he's starting over him.
Yeah,
so basically, you're basically arguing whether or not he would start over Jalen Duren, which I don't think he would, because they would just compound their shooting issues even more, and he's less athletic, and they really believe in Jalen Duren a lot. Would he start over? Okay, so basically it is the Wizards. The Wizards are the one team in the East where you could argue he might start, but I think he wouldn't start on them either.
Yeah.
So, okay, let's go over to the West. Would he start over Rudy Gobert and Karl Anthony Towns?
No.
Would he start in OKC over Chet, or who are they starting at center right now? Are they starting at Chet at center?
I think they're using him mostly as a center, yeah. I haven't watched enough games recently just to know.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't think they would start him. Would the Nuggets start him over Aaron Gordon or Nikola Vucevic? Nikola Jokic? No. Would the Kings start him next to Domantas Sabonis? No. Okay. So we are 19 teams in, and there's not a single team that he would start for. Would he start over Derek Lively in Dallas? This is like maybe territory for me.
Yeah, I probably would.
But he's been worse than Derek Lively this year. Would he start in LA? This is the team I think he would start for.
Yeah,
maybe that might be it. Would he start over Jonas Valanciunas? Hell no. Would he start over Anthony Davis in Los Angeles? Nope. Would he start in Houston? Yes, he would. No, he wouldn't. Alperen Şengün? No, he wouldn't. Okay. Would he start for Phoenix Suns? Yeah, I think he would. I think he would start for Phoenix. Maybe no. Nurkic provides too much spacing, so no, he wouldn't. Would he start in Golden State?
I think it's a close one. I think it's a close one with Nurkic. It depends on who else is starting and if they have enough if you have 4 good 3-point shooters, you could definitely do it.
Nurkic is paid more. I mean, they're paid roughly the same, but I think Nurkic has been like more of a consistent starter, to be honest.
I think it's more like he would start if Nurkic wasn't there easily and be
sure. But I mean, that's not the argument. The argument is, would he start over what they have right now? Would he start for the Warriors and their high-paced offense next to Draymond Green, who doesn't shoot very well? No, probably not. Would he start over Kevon Looney? Probably not. Okay, would he start over Kelly Olynyk and Lauri Markkanen and Walker Kessler? Hell no. Would he start over Jaren Jackson Jr. and Steven Adams if healthy? Probably not. Would he start over Robert Williams and DeAndre Ayton? No. Would he start next to Victor Wembanyama, or would they continue going to Wemby at the 5 and Zach Collins? So basically, we are at maybe 2 teams, maybe 3 maximum in hell that he would start on. No, he is not one of the top 10, top 15 centers in the NBA right now. He is a decent, serviceable player, but I really push back on this idea. You have a point guard and a center who would not start on 90% of teams out there.
Yeah, that's good.
Now, OG Anunoby, if we did the same argument with OG, we would get about a 90% yes for almost every single team. They would find some way to start him either at the 2, the 3, or the 4. Same thing with Scottie. Same thing with Pascal. Those are your 3 starters. You basically have 3 starters.
Yeah.
Now, the
Gary
question
would
then
be
becomes,
like 10% or something, or what?
Pardon?
You think Gary would be like a 10%er or like a 20%er or what?
I think I could sell myself on Gary starting on just about as many teams as Yak.
Yeah.
Which is around 3.
Okay.
You know, I could probably sell myself on Chris Boucher starting on 1 or 2 teams out there. Maybe. I mean, I doubt it.
Yeah.
Who am I forgetting in Washington? There is a center in Washington whose name escapes me right now, but he is a very good player.
Is it Gafford?
Yes, Daniel Gafford. Yes, thank you. Yeah, I think I prefer Daniel Gafford.
He'd be better. You're right.
Yeah. So the point here is you gave up a first round pick, you tanked your own value, whatever, for an optimized version of a player that only worked really with an elite pick and roll ball handling guard, which Dennis Schroder is not.
Yeah.
And a pick and pop guard, which Dennis Schroder is not. They just don't respect him that well. He doesn't pass accurately enough. It doesn't work without Fred, man. So, I mean, at the end of the day, you can say the Raptors didn't expect to lose Fred. I think you'd be stupid if you thought that, you know, people who act like revisionist historians now and say, oh, well, it was so obvious they were going to lose him. No, it wasn't obvious they were going to lose him at all.
But I don't think it was like 80% sure that they were going to keep him. I think it was
absolutely true. And you know what's funny? I remember doing a live about 2.5 to 3 months before his free agency where I ripped Fred VanVleet and I did this exact same thing with Fred VanVleet. Okay. I was like, who would you start for? The one team that I said you would start for the Rockets. That's the one team you would start for. You would start over KPJ. They could use you. That's the one team. Maybe you can help them. And literally it's the one fucking place he goes.
Yeah. That
That was the one offer. That was the one starting offer. He would also probably had the Milwaukee Bucks not traded for Damian Lillard. He probably could have started there. Had maybe Philadelphia, if they had cap space, they could have certainly used him in place of James Harden or something like that. Maybe move James to the 3 and then have like a 3 guard trio or whatever with Tobias at the 4 and Embiid at the 5.
Yeah.
But there just aren't a lot of teams that are looking for these assets. So really the Raptors have like these 3 guys that everybody likes. Well, not everybody likes, but a lot of people like. And they have 2 guys that almost everybody likes. And then 1 guy that everybody likes. And basically that's your asset scale. You have Scottie in tier A, OG in tier B, Siakam in tier C, and then everybody else is like D or F.
Yep.
And that's pretty much where we're at.
So my next thought was, do you think they're just not benching him to keep their trade value so that come trade time they can trade him for as much as they can?
I think the more you play these guys, the worse their trade value is going to get.
Really?
I mean, if you like, that's the thing with negative assets, with negative players, the more they hurt. Like right now, if I'm a scout and I'm looking at the Raptors, I'm looking at this team. I'm looking at Scottie doing really well. I'm looking at OG, and I can maybe excuse based on the fact that generally just NBA people love OG Anunoby. I can't explain it, but I've never met a commentator or, other than maybe like a couple of people in Toronto who have anything really negative to say about OG. Like pretty much everyone loves this guy. He's very, he's very no frills. He's very, egoless. He's extremely likable. He is an extremely valuable and very portable player. So people like him. I also don't think most people have too much of an issue with Pascal. I have my own issues with his defense, really, but offensively, I cannot deny that he's, definitely one of your top 2 players offensively. Sure. So, I mean, there is a world in which you upgrade the type of center you have, like a stretch big, and, a really dominant shooting point guard, or even put Scottie at point and then have a really dominant shooter at the 2. And this entire lineup works. And we're talking about a completely different season. We're talking about a completely different team. We might be talking about this team being better than the Cavs right now. Certainly, we could be talking about this team being better than the Pacers. Maybe with Scottie at point, you run that extreme pace that we saw today the entire game. And we are talking about this team, maybe not quite Pacers level, but that was the thing, right? You need to give your best playmakers the ball. You need to give it in their hands. Like, I mean, that's what's not happening here.
Yeah.
So anyways, you said you had some trades. You wanted to talk trades. Okay.
A bit of a wild trade, so it might be a really short call if you're just like, oh, that's bullshit. Let's not do that. So
okay.
I'll propose it though. I gave it some thought, and I think it could work.
Sure.
It's with the Nets. We'd be trading Pascal, Dennis, Thad, and Jalen McDaniels.
Whoa.
And
Are we getting back to Ben Simmons?
Yeah, Ben Simmons, but he's not. Cam Johnson, Cam Thomas, and Harry Giles.
That's interesting.
So like Cam Johnson as a replacement for Pascal, lower scoring. Cam Thomas though has been like balling like crazy, scoring super like off the charts.
Yeah, so I did a top 25 players under 25, and I had him really high, and then I started to really dig into his analytics, and now I am like, oh my god, this might be my more regrettable takes. His analytics have not looked great. His scoring has been awesome. His defense and everything else has not been super awesome.
Yeah,
but I will pull this trade up just so that we can execute it. Hang on. So you have said team number 1, Toronto. Team number 2, the Nets. Have you tried this trade out? You've seen that it works?
Yeah, so like the Raptors take.
So you said Pascal?
Yeah, Pascal.
Dennis. Okay.
Sad.
Thaddeus Young. Yep.
And
Jalen McDaniels. For Cam Thomas, Cam Johnson, Ben Simmons. Okay.
And Giles.
Harry Giles.
Yeah. So like 2 damaged goods for sure in both Harry Giles and Ben Simmons. Harry Giles has been looking better for sure and playing really well in his limited minutes, but so he'd be like a nice backup center coming off the bench, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Per 36, his stats are ridiculous. He can't give you 36, but
yeah. So the Cam Johnson can't be traded until January 15th because he resigned using the bird rights with 20% raise in salary, and the Nets are over the cap. Yeah. So it doesn't work because you can't trade him until then. And then I think there's a restriction on Pascal, like the type of contract that you can offer that a team that's trading for him can offer him after December 29th.
Yeah.
So yeah,
the salaries are lower though, right? It wouldn't put the Nets over the cap.
But it's not really about that. It's just that Cam Johnson can't be traded until that date. Do you have any other trades that you wanted to pitch?
That's the one I was looking at. I didn't catch that deadline on him. So
yeah,
isn't the trade deadline after that though?
The trade deadline is after that, but for Siakam, there's this restriction where if traded before or extended before, like I can't remember, the date is December 29th or December 30th, where effectively I remember reading an entire breakdown about it, but it's escaping me right now. Okay. But basically there's like a number of years that you can offer him before that date versus after that date in terms of an extension. Someone in the comments helped me out. There's like an exact explanation for this. Anyways,
are you basically saying that like it would screw over the Nets if they took it, or is it just an impossible trade?
It's not an impossible trade. It's just the Nets would have to. It would be like a caveat where the Nets would have to agree to take on a player. Yeah. So Hi M Dirks is saying December 30th.
I see. Yeah.
He can only be. Oh, there we go. So he can only be offered 2 years, $84 million if traded after December 27th. Yeah. I don't know if it's the 27th. I think it's the 29th. But anyways, yeah. So it restricts, the long term. But I mean, maybe a team would welcome that. Maybe they'd be like, great. But then that limits their negotiation power in terms of having him not hit free agency next year. Because why does he sign a 2-year deal, right? It's not like he's expecting to be in a better free agency position at the age of 32 than he will be at 30, right? So it doesn't make a hell of a lot of sense for him to be taking a 2-year deal. So I think that is the caveat there. Whereas if you trade him before that, they can offer him the full 4-year extension.
That gets tricky. I see it. Yeah.
Yeah. She-Wolf saying, hi, attended my first Raptors game ever. Weird vibes. OG seems checked out. Scottie seems disengaged. Based on jersey displays, I'd guess OG is gone. Siakam stats, Mr. 17 being pushed. Huh? Oh, based on jersey displays. So as in, like, I guess OG jerseys were not very prominently displayed. OG jerseys have never really been a huge seller for whatever reason. Siakam jerseys have always been a bit of a bigger seller. So I wouldn't read too much into that. I really hope OG is not the guy that goes, but I certainly would welcome a trade for younger assets. Is there another trade that is there another team that you would want to make a trade for? Or does someone want to call in with a trade that they want to do?
I don't have one on hand. I'll maybe work on one for another day for you. But
cool. All right. Thanks a lot for calling in, Fresh Paint. Appreciate it, man. Cheers. If someone wants to call in with another trade, I will indulge. Yeah. Okay. To the specific point of voting for Scottie, I've seen some pretty disastrous ideas about this, and my last video did not go as planned because there were some technical difficulties in the front end where I couldn't hear that Jack Armstrong was talking, and I ended up talking over him, which I think kind of screwed up that video. But guys, there's no way in hell. Like, first of all, you got to understand how fan voting even works to begin with. Okay. I'll take you through this. It's not going to be a super long detour. And by the way, if someone wants to call in, link is in the description. If you have a trade you want to pitch, by all means, call in. I'll be happy to indulge. But I just want to give this like preamble on how to vote for Scottie for to actually get him in, because there is a strategy to this. Some people say it's fruitless. It's not fruitless. Canada is a huge country. Some people say, well, America's a bigger country. Well, America has 29 teams. Canada has one team. And Canada has nearly 40 million people. And there's been more enthusiasm and more push for Scottie to make the All-Star game than I have seen for any Raptor in the last 10 years. The last time I remember a push this strong, other than the one that Chris Bosh created for himself, was Kyle and DeMar. Everyone feeling like, oh, we the North, we got to get Kyle and DeMar to the All-Star game. We got to get into the All-Star game. That was the last time, okay? And that was when the team was turning a corner and becoming good. This is during a depressing season in which the team is losing. And there's still so much enthusiasm to get this guy in. You can do it. I promise you can do it. But here's the problem. You need to stop voting for other players who can make it in over him at the front court position. I mean, this is not rocket science. If I make a vote, let's say I vote Scottie plus Giannis plus Siakam. Well, guess what? There's a lot of votes that come in from NBA fans for guys like Siakam and for guys like Giannis, just based on the fact that they're household names. Okay. So here's what you're doing. You're adding a vote to the guy that he has to beat out. Okay. Now, if you're a Chicago Bulls fan, maybe you hate the Celtics. So you're going to vote Kobe White, DeMar DeRozan, Zach LaVine, and maybe you hate the Sixers and you hate and you don't really have any thoughts about the Raptors. So you're like, okay, let me just throw Siakam on there because he's pretty high up. If you sort by points per game, he's pretty high up there. So he's very visible. And he's also a two-time All-Star. So he's been there before. And people recognize him. And there's like some name recognition. He won an NBA championship. He's been on national television way more than Scottie ever was. Okay. You got to understand there's votes that are going to come for Pascal Siakam and Giannis Antetokounmpo from Greece, from Africa, from Nigeria, whatever. There's a lot of people in these countries that have internet access and they do vote every year. But Scottie is not African. Scottie is not from Nigeria. He's not from Greece. He's not from Serbia. He doesn't have that. And if you think that everyone in Florida is voting for Scottie Barnes, you're crazy. That's not happening. And if you think everyone in America is voting for Scottie Barnes, that's not happening either because he's not that popular. And he's never on national TV. And he plays for this dog shit team that is terrible to watch last year and this year, right? And he's got this entire reputation as a guy who can't score. Yo, NBA University did a poll. Scottie versus Paolo Banchero, who's a better offensive player. Paolo fucking won that poll 70-30. How? I swear to God, Paolo's team just got wiped tonight by a Miami Heat team that didn't even have Kyle Lowry and Jimmy Butler. They got smoked, killed my parlay, smoked. I think I checked in the third quarter. Paolo had 5 points. How is he a better player than Scottie? He's not more efficient. How is he a better player? He's not. But that's how NBA fans think. NBA fans think that way because honestly, man, Scottie's PR department, zero. So really the only hope that Scottie has to make the All-Star team is if Canada gets out there and votes consistently, votes every day. Now, I will remind you, once again, and every single live, I will remind you, December 25th, January 1st, January 5th, January 12th, January 15th, January 19th. These are the days that votes count for 3. I will also remind you to stop voting for players that have a chance, which means no votes for Giannis, no votes for Tatum, no votes for Randall, no votes for Embiid, no votes for any of these guys. And honestly, I'll take it a step further, no votes for Siakam. I'm not voting for Siakam. Now, here's what could happen. Let's say everybody gets the same idea. We're going to vote Scottie, but everyone also has the same other idea. I also want to vote for Siakam. Well, guess what? Now that's 1 vote for Scottie, 1 vote for Siakam. But African fans are not going to sit, like people from Cameroon are voting across the board. Yo, check the population of Cameroon. It's a big country. Check the population of Africa. How many people do I know that vote all European players or all African players? I know a lot of people like this, okay? So at the end of the day, you're setting Scottie up to fail, because the worst thing that's going to happen here is you're going to give a guy like Pascal Siakam his 3rd All-Star nod, because you keep voting Siakam plus Scottie, Siakam plus Scottie. So Canada gives 2 votes to these 2 guys, and then everyone else is going to vote for Siakam, his entire fan club, and trust me, he has a lot of fans. They're not voting Scottie. So at the end of the day, what's going to happen is you're going to get Siakam voted in as a starter over Tatum, because people don't like Tatum for some reason. And then what's going to happen is that Scottie's not going to get in because the coaches will never vote 2 Raptors in. Do you understand what I'm saying? I would almost rather not vote if you're just going to vote Scottie and Siakam. Vote Scottie plus OG. There's no chance in hell OG has a fan base out there the way Siakam does. Vote Scottie plus Jakob and Grady and shit Otto, like whatever. Or just vote Scottie. Just vote Scottie. It's super simple. You don't have to vote for 10 players. Vote for 1 and leave the rest of your ballot blank. At the end of the day, maybe it's impossible for Scottie to be top 3, but if he gets to the top 4, at the very least, it'll be on the coach's radar to put him in. They'll vote him in. Okay? But if you keep voting like other players in who he has to get above, you're canceling your vote. So don't cancel your vote. I'm happy that this information is getting out there. I have seen people out there who are Raptor fans, and they're just like, you can't tell me how to vote. They're all Karens, man. They don't like people telling them how to vote. I'm not trying to tell you who to vote for. I'm just telling you, if you care about like this actually mattering, then vote smart. Don't vote emotional. Vote smart. Okay? Cool boy. Okay, cool boy. I appreciate you coming on with this. Observe, man. These are Scottie's numbers next to all the first-time All-Stars. Not that great. Not that great. Every person out there who thinks, who wants to deny the claim of being an idiot always says that they're being a realist. You're not being realistic. You're just being ignorant. No offense. He's not that great. I mean, if you're talking about Scottie, you're crazy. He's playing on a team as a player who desperately needs spacing, as a straight line driver. Like, this is like putting Giannis with 4 players who can't shoot. Yo, he's playing on a team which has like one of the worst net ratings. And then when he gets a break from that team, he has to carry one of the worst bench units, and he's managing a 6.1, and after tonight, probably a 6.3 box plus minus. Are you kidding me? He's been a top 20 player at the age of 22. That is rarefied air, man. That is very rarefied air. And I don't think you should sneeze at that, because Scottie is right now having one of the top 5 Raptor seasons of all time. Okay. There's a Vince season up there. There's another Vince season up there. There's a Kawhi season, and there's a Kyle season. And then there's a Scottie season. And it's right there. The only season that is de facto better is Kawhi's and Vince's. That's it. The second Vince season is not as good, in my opinion. It's close. It's close. And the Kyle season is right on par. He's doing this younger than those guys. It's worth noting. Like, do not ignore, do not throw the baby out with the bathwater. He is the baby. This team is the bathwater. Don't ignore the greatness that he has shown because the team is bad. This is not a Cade Cunningham situation or a Jalen Green situation where it's just big, empty numbers. No, these are impact numbers. It's just one player cannot make up the difference of everything around him. He's also the guy with the lowest usage out of any top 20 guy that you can think of in the NBA. He's the guy with the lowest usage. There's nobody with lower usage. So I just think like this is a season that is worth celebrating. And I don't know if coaches are necessarily going to celebrate it because Darko doesn't really have that pull with the entire coaches association and all the other coaches. You can't just be like, yo, vote for my guy. I hope teams are noticing it. Coaches aren't necessarily the most analytically driven people, but the analytics are unquestionable on this. Now, as I say this, I also realize that James Harden, despite having a brilliant analytical season last year, got snubbed. And he was on a much better team than Scottie. So Scottie could get snubbed. So vote for him. The best way to make sure he doesn't get snubbed is to vote him in. Okay? So I just want to make that clear. There isn't a hell of a lot to cheer for us Raptor fans right now. Just being honest. It's just, there's not a lot. Okay? So seeing Scottie voted in to the no Bosch seasons? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Bosch never clipped 6 box plus minus. Bosch never clipped 4 or 5 value replacement. He wasn't there. Bosch was ahead of his time, portable to any era, two-way guy with efficient scoring profile. How old are you, man? Maroon Prince, how old are you? I'm curious because I'm curious how much of Chris Bosch's game you saw live and witnessed. He won 3 playoff games in his entire Raptors tenure in 7 years. Right? Okay, we got Lyra Alvarez. What's up?
Okay, how you doing?
Not too bad. How are you?
Man, I did not expect to get it.
I did not expect to what? I've never clicked on a person and then had them say shit. It's funny. Okay. So it's possible that Lyra has connection issues, and it's also possible that he just pressed the button and that did not expect to get on. Anyways, okay, I will exit this live at this point. I would like to remind you to please hit like and subscribe. That would be great. I will talk a little bit more about Pendance. The planning is now in the very firmly late stages, still trying to select our final films, finalizing our venues, in some late negotiations with TIFF to see if we can't have the Saturday at TIFF the full day. That would be great. I like TIFF Bell Light Box, a super awesome theater. It would be really nice to have some international, films there. But if we can't, then we're at the Carlton Cinema. It's going to be a fun time. Got a lot of Pensar basketball people come out to Pendance Film Festival last year. Passes are technically on sale via Film Freeway. If you're looking for, a gift for someone in your life who's a film lover, certainly, and they like independent films that are great films, great stories, certainly I will talk a lot more about it starting tomorrow or the next day. We got Lyra back. Lyra, what's up?
All right, how you doing?
Not too bad.
Sorry about that. Okay, so I saw this trade earlier today.
Okay. We're back in the trade talk. Okay.
Yeah. It was with Pascal.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, so this involved the Pacers.
Who's it with?
Say what?
Who's it with? The Pacers?
Pacers and Timberwolves. Have you seen this one?
Nope.
Pacers, Raptors, Timberwolves. Okay, so Pacers would get Pascal and a 2024 first rounder from, I think, Timberwolves. They would give the Raptors Cat and then Bruce Brown, Leonard Miller.
We're getting Carlton
Yeah,
Towns?
there's a lot here. Yeah. So that would happen from Timberwolves. And it works. I saw this earlier. I'm not sure what you would say to that.
What? Okay. What are the Timberwolves getting?
So Timberwolves would get Buddy Hield, OG Anunoby, Andrew Nembhard.
Oh my God! So we're trading Pascal and OG for Karl-Anthony Towns?
Yeah, it's bad. I think it's bad.
Hell
I
no.
just saw it work. And what would you think of having Cat and just kind of building from there?
No.
Yeah, it's bad.
I
Does it work?
I mean, I don't even want to see if it works because in this case, like I get it. Like on the one hand, yeah, like you're getting the more talented player, right? you are getting an older player, right? I mean, technically, if you break the difference between OG and Siakam, it's a 27-year-old. You're getting a 28-year-old back. So if you split the difference there, I think I struggle to. I certainly understand why Indiana would do this. Certainly, I mean, you get Pascal Siakam and you give up Buddy Hield, but I'm really struggling to understand why Minnesota would do this. I mean, granted, they can get better, but they're also like top of the West right now, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think Karl-Anthony Towns and Jakob Poeltl is a clunky fit next to each other. I think Cat at his best is a center. So playing him at the 4 really compromises your defense, makes you a lot less switchable. Plus, you're losing OG in this trade. You would get more talented to some extent. Karl-Anthony Towns is certainly a more talented offensive player than Pascal Siakam.
Yeah, and he's lacking defense a little bit, though.
Yeah, and he's a really good rebounder, too, and he's a great shooter. However, yeah, no, I can't. Like, I can't do that trade. Like to give up OG plus, he's not that good, man. Yeah. Any other trades you were thinking about?
No, I just saw this one earlier, and someone worked it on the trade machine and it worked, but it just seemed shit for the Raptors. But yeah, I wanted to get your thoughts on it. That's all.
Yeah, I like Karl-Anthony Towns more than a lot of people do. There's Donovan Mitchell to Toronto. Yikes. I mean, there's a lot of trades, and I mean, whenever you look at the trending players on Fanspo, like you see OG and Siakam there for like 2 years now. They have been like number 1, right? Number 1 and number 2, number 2, number 3, number 1, number 4. Like they're up there all the time. Wow. Yeah. Like, I mean, I just, it's hard to make a trade with the Raptors because they obviously see their own players as much differently than the rest of the league does. And I think if there's one player that the rest of the league can sort of agree on, it is OG. Like there's definitely value there. I think you could still get multiple firsts and, an expiring for him right now, even though he's, set to expire, because from the perspective of a team that's trading for him, you could sell yourself on getting him into the system earlier. Maybe you don't have cap space next summer, so now you get his bird rights. There's a lot of advantages to trading for OG right now or Siakam right now. Yeah, I'm not sure that Siakam has the value around the league that some people think he does. I know that Dennis and Jakob don't have that value though. So yeah.
Yeah, no, that's all I had.
All right, man. Thanks. Peace. Have a good one. Okay. Make sure to hit like on this video on your way out. I would super duper appreciate it. Thank you to the 400 plus of you who have been in here, who have, rocked with us after a tough loss. I mean, you've made us the #1 Raptors post-game show by the views every single night, pretty much every single night this year. I mean, there have been a couple of nights where, there's a big guest on the Raptors show or whatever, but I want to thank you for that. I'm obviously like one person doing this by myself. There's no huge team, no fancy cameras, even though I have a fancy camera, which I probably should use. Don't use it. I'm just a dude in my bedroom who wants the Raptors to do better, and they have not. So thank you guys for that, and thank you for liking this video. Thanks for all the super chats and all that stuff. Wait, what? All right. Have a good night, y'all. Take care. Have a good one. And yeah, I will. Tomorrow, we are doing a video with Leo Bias from the Sacramento Kings. Obviously, Sacramento Kings lose tonight to the Boston Celtics, a Tatumless Boston Celtics. So certainly, he might be moving. He might be wanting to make some moves. I want to correct my record on a couple of things that I've said over the last couple of weeks or last week about the young players, specifically in that trade, the ranking that I talked about. I do think I was a little too low on Keegan Murray. People have called me out on it, and I'll admit I dug more into his film. I dug more into the numbers on the type of player he's been this year, and certainly he has improved defensively more than I gave him credit for. So he's been decent. He's been really decent. And even though his shot has been falling, 47-point, explosion notwithstanding, I think, okay, I don't understand what you're saying, Dr. Dredd. Check out the video. Should make your day. It's only women. Who are you talking about? I'm trying to understand what you're saying. Anyways, this link, what link? I don't see a link, bro. Or maybe you posting a link is filtering out, like, makes sense. Yeah, it typically it auto filters out links because it's typically associated with spam, and also makes sense from a YouTube perspective. Yeah, said can't share links on a live. Makes perfect sense. Yeah, because why would YouTube want you to derail yourself to potentially another video or whatever? So I apologize, you're not able to share your link. However, one place you are able to share your link is in the comment section after this video goes live. So I mean, what is it? Like, sorry, I'm curious now. Like, you've made me very curious about it. Or hypothetically, if you wanted to share the link, you can absolutely DM it to me via Instagram. I don't know. I mean, like, Jaden Ivey to Toronto. See, when you comment things like this, I immediately think it happened. Oh, Raptors moments. Dennis Schroder runs away from Trae Young. Yeah, I already saw it. Yeah, I saw that. Great video. It talks about a lot of the clips where, I think a couple lives ago when we were breaking down the last loss to the Hawks, the Raptors had like these disastrous moments where Dennis Schroder was basically running away from Trae Young. And I think Raptors moments did a hilarious job of basically making it seem like Dennis Schroder was afraid of Trae Young as opposed to just a horribly disciplined defender. It is a gold video. It's absolutely funny. And yeah, it's all over Twitter. It was hilarious. I agree. Yeah. All right, guys, take care. And once again, on your way out, I would super duper appreciate you like this video. Talk to y'all later. Peace.